What's up, Weirdo Swarm, and welcome back to another episode of Podagon Infinity. This is the podcast that opens the door to all things King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. My name is Joe.
And my name is Spenser. Dude, Joe, are you still buzzing or your ears still ringing from the two shows that we went to this past week?
Yes, absolutely. I am still vibrating with positive energy that brought to me. Oh my god, yeah, it's been over a week now since we got to see the Giz live from the two shows that we went to, but trust us, folks, we are still just shaking with this excitement and this wonder that it put us through from our experiences, and we are just so hyped to finally get this all out of our systems and gush about it all on today's episode.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So for those who are maybe newer to the show or maybe have not been following along closely for a bit now, just to catch you up, we went to two shows last week, the first of which was on Monday, August the 2nd, the inaugural orchestral show with the Giz at the Mann Center in Philadelphia. Just a beautiful kind of rolling hills type of scenery area, just a gorgeous setting, gorgeous venue, and we heard of course, the very first orchestral performance with the band of Phantom Island in its entirety, a little jam session in between while the orchestra took a break, then a handful of songs from the back catalog after that, and then, of course, we went to Forest Hills Night 2, the rock show. We needed to get a little bit of each side of the band there, so that really satisfied kind of that craving of our ears, so to speak, and we had a great time at both shows, and that's going to be kind of the central focus of this episode. We're going to go into our experiences, our memories, some of our personal highlights, some of the people we talked to. We had some awesome conversations and interactions there. We'll play those for you a little bit later on. But before we go any further, quick reminders for some plugs. You can find us on all the social media at Podagon Infinity. That's Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, and you can also email us if you want to get a hold of us, podagoninfinity@gmail.com. Joe, how about we kick it off with our lone listener email of the week?
Yeah, so this comes to us through our email from someone known as The Bass Rocker. Hello, Joe and Spenser. Just wanted to say how much I love the podcast and how much I appreciate the great job you're doing. Your most recent insights into Eyes Like the Sky were so enjoyable that I had to go back and listen to the entire album, something I hadn't done in a while and thoroughly enjoyed. I'm usually more of a microtonal dude, haha. And then he continues. So two things. Have y'all noticed the sonic differences between the vinyl and digital versions of KGLW releases? I ask because I recently picked up 3 versions of Phantom Island. A, the vinyl, B, digitally on Apple/iTunes, and C, the Dolby Atmos Blu-ray version. In my honest opinion, the Digi iTunes version is good with the orchestra having a solid presence, but the guitars, bass, and drums sound the clearest and have the most depth and bottom end on the Dolby Atmos version for my money. However, ultimately, I'm finding that the vinyl version sounds the warmest and most balanced mix-wise between the band and the orchestra. So it's becoming my favorite version. Maybe there's just some old analog magic happening on that hot wax. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this and which version you like best. So let's answer this question first. He's got a part 2 in here, but I have to say, so I do not own Phantom Island on vinyl. I don't have the Atmos Blu-ray version, but I think it's super cool that they did that. I'm really curious to hear these different versions, and I think I am going to have to pick up a Phantom Island vinyl at some point, but as of right now, I don't have it. As for like their other records, and just in general, if they sound different to streaming and digital versions, I mean, it's always going to sound a little different, and it also depends on so many factors, like the record player you're using, the speakers you're using, and what the acoustics are of the room that you have them in. So there's so many things that go into it. They're always going to sound a little different, but of course, most real music nerds always say that analog is better for X number of reasons. I don't really have the authority to speak on it one way or another. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that. I think it's all just down to personal preference, and yeah, it's going to sound different, but it sounds like you did most of the work yourself, and hey, the vinyl sounds the most balanced to you, then I say rock that vinyl, man.
Absolutely, yeah. And just to give my 2 cents on this, as much of an audiophile as I claim to be sometimes, I have a very small vinyl collection at this stage, and like you, Joe, I don't have a vinyl copy of Phantom Island yet, although that is one that I hope to add to my collection sooner rather than later. But it does make sense that there kind of audio differences, quality differences between the different applications, the different media of similar albums. But, I honestly say, just like whatever, kind of like what you just said, Joe, whatever kind of floats your boat, you rock that, whatever is most convenient or pleasurable to you. Doesn't hurt to bump that. And I will say that I recently admittedly had my hand forced when the band pulled their music off of Spotify. Many who are familiar with the band and kind of plugged in with the goings-on know why they did that, and it makes absolute sense, and we applaud them for that, because that's a tough move for any artist to make on such a widely available, popular platform, but they're standing up for their beliefs, and that's cool. I think that's a fantastic thing. I have, as a result, discovered the greatness that is Tidal, among a couple of the other fantastic music streaming platforms that are out there, but they have all these different, audio quality listening options that are available, and there is a pretty stark difference, a pretty impressive difference between Tidal and Spotify or some of the other lower quality streaming services that are out there when it comes to listening. So yeah, ultimately I think it boils down to just go with what makes you the happiest. There are certainly differences in quality levels among the different sources, and so go with whatever makes you happiest.
Okay, and then just part 2 to their email here. It says, secondly, I need your help. I know Lukey is credited with vocals on both Eternal Return and Panpsych, but I'm having trouble figuring out which verses he's singing on. Have you guys figured this out yet? And if so, can you please tell me? Thanks in advance. Again, keep up the great work. Best, the Bass Rocker. So, Spenser already went and did the legwork of figuring this out, so I'm just gonna pass this one right off to you to answer.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Yeah, so, excellent two-pronged question here, Bass Rocker, just to straight up answer your part 2 here. Eternal Return, first of all, does not technically feature a lead vocal part from Lucas, as best as I can tell. I listened and re-listened a couple of times just to make sure. It sounds to me, though, that he comes after Stu's deep part that we talked about so prominently on our album review episode, or our reaction episode to Phantom Island, the part where Stu goes way down there, I wonder which reality she will see, and so on. After that part from Stu ends, right after Just Don't Forget I Return Eternally, beginning at about 1:35, there's like this slow, sweeping swing, eternal return, always on wing. I'm not getting the melody right, but those are the lyrics. Right where that part starts, that kind of gruff, husky-sounding voice, I believe, is Lukey right there. So that's to answer your question on Eternal Return. And then Panpsych is a little more straightforward. Lukey sings the verse that begins at 2:14. I am the wind and sea, I am that stabbing pain. So there you go, there are your answers, at least as best as I could tell for Eternal Return. Like I said, the Panpsych one was a lot easier to solve there, so hope that answers your question, Bass Rocker. Glad to hear from you, hope to hear from you again in the future. We have a kind of great community of listeners here, many of whom have written into us on multiple occasions. We love it, it adds life and vitality to this show, and keep them coming.
All right, so getting into the swing of things here, just to set the scene a little more for you, just to give you a sense of where we are in the timeline. As of recording this, the most recent show was Colorado Springs. That was just last night. So we are most of the way through this U.S. tour now with just 2 shows in California left, and then the band returns to Colorado for the Field of Vision Festival, which closes out the tour. As Spenser mentioned, we attended the Philadelphia Orchestra show, which was the first one of the tour, as well as Forest Hills Night 2, the rock show. So we got 2 totally different concert experiences, which is exactly what we had hoped for. That was we of course bought the Philly tickets right away because that's our vicinity where we live. But the New York show was like a little bit later on. I was like, man, I really kind of want that normal like rock and giz experience as well. So luckily you were down for that. So we hit that up as well, and that's exactly what we got. We got a good, heavy, rockin' ass show there. So we're going to dive into all of that, and to kick things off, I did something just like I did last year. If you listened to our post-show episode last year, I recorded some interviews on the scene at a Giz meetup ahead of a show, specifically the Detroit Acoustic Show I attended last year. And so I did the same thing once again this year, except I was able to do it at 2 different meetups. So I went to the Philly meetup, that was the day before the show, and then the Forest Hills meetup the day of that Night 2 show. So we talked to 3 different people at each of those. We did some interviews just to hear from some people. Specifically, there were a couple people who do make merch. There are bootleggers that make their own vinyls, all this kind of cool stuff, and also a couple just regular fans who gave their input on the whole orchestral thing and how excited they were and everything that they were hoping to hear at the shows. So We are going to go in chronological order here with these two shows we attended, so I think the perfect way to kick things off is to play this audio of me interviewing a couple people at the Philly meetup ahead of that show. Now, just a little bit of a warning. The place where the meetup was held didn't have the best acoustics. It's a little noisy, and there was also lots of people all in this one room talking and music playing in the background and all this. I tried to get the best audio that I could and tried to clean things up and post a little bit. It's not terrible, but it's a little noisy, so forgive me for that. But without further ado, let's get right into things. Here are the interviews from the Philly meetup. All right, everybody, Joe here at Fat Lady Brewing in the Manayunk neighborhood of Philadelphia, the first King Giz meetup of this tour. Everybody is super hyped. The vibes have been immaculate here. Everybody's so excited to kick this thing off. So I'm out here, and I found a couple people to chat with today to put a little something together. So what's up, man? What's your name, and where you from? What's your bootleg business, all that stuff? Give a nice introduction.
Yeah, my name's Alex. I boot under Obi Cogs is my label name, and I do weird music is my goal mostly. I just put out a new release that's all of Cav's drum solos from the 2024 tour. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was seeing that posted on the Oops All Cavs, Captain Cavs. You got a whole Captain Crunch cereal theme going with the print and everything. The artwork's amazing. I saw it all over online, Instagram and stuff like that, so it was cool to run into you here. It's cool to run into people who I've known online but never met in person before. You also have this Poly record, this little 7-inch single that I bought a copy of from you earlier. You want to tell people about that as well?
Yeah, it's I call it the Mega Mix. So it's like a minute or so of each track off Poly blended together into one continuous mix. I wanted to put out my own copy of Poly because I love it so much, but I just wanted to do something different since there's been 1,000,001 vinyl pressings of it. So that was my idea, and I'm proud of it. I think it's sick.
Yeah, I'm excited to spin that and check it out. It's cool because, there have been a ton of super cool variations on Poly. Obviously, it's a fan favorite. It's an amazing album. And, yeah, you got a full, all over Poly print hat on right now. So I could tell, is that your favorite album of theirs if you had to pick one?
It's probably my favorite album, period, I think I would say at this point.
Yeah, that is definitely a good one to go with. I love a lot of their music for different reasons, but Poly is one that never ceases to amaze me with just the way it's written, the layers to it. It's very progressive. It's very just intricate, and you can always pick up on something new every time you listen to it.
I agree. I feel like I'm always appreciating it in new ways over time, which is impressive for an album I've listened to so many times.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, are you from this area at all, or did you travel for the Philly show?
I traveled from Columbus, Ohio, so it was about a 7.5-hour drive.
Okay, gotcha. So a little bit of a travel. Pretty much everyone I've talked to is not from here. They're from all over the place. How many times have you seen Giz live?
This will be number 11, and then I'm doing Field of Vision too, so another 3 there.
Nice, that's going to be sick. Do you have any particular predictions or hopes for the orchestral set tomorrow, or just the tour in general, or any particular songs other than Phantom Island, of course, that you hope to maybe hear in this orchestral setting?
I'm really hoping for something off Poly, obviously. I think Crumbling Castle with an orchestra would just be epic, so I'm really, really hoping for that. But honestly, no matter what, I'm sure it's going to be insane, so I'm just pumped.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. We kind of on the show before talked about our predictions and hopes for this stuff on the last episode that we recorded. And Crumbling Castle was particularly one that I picked out of just one of their really big, fan favorite epic songs that would just be insane with layers of an orchestra with it. I think would be insane. So that's a big hope for me as well. I think that'd be so sick. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me. This was great.
Thank you so much. I look forward to it.
Okay, I'm here at the Philly meetup with another bootlegger. This is Sam from Grim Reaper Goods. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just enjoying the meetup, or it's ended. That was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, everything's kind of wrapping up now. Most people are packing up. I kind of got to this late, starting to talk to people and record here. But I bought a couple shirts from you. I think we follow you online. I've seen a lot of your work before. You have one shirt in particular that's pretty popular. That's been all over the place and gotten more exposure than you ever expected. You're the creator of the infamous Taylor Swift Giz shirt, right?
Yeah, I made that shirt, and I have done irreversible damage, I feel. That's what I keep saying, is like, I see it all over the place. I'll go to like a Primus show or something, like other show that's like kind of Giz adjacent, and I'll be like, oh, someone's fucking wearing my shirt. I'm like, oh, that's so, I don't even remember selling it to that dude, but yeah, I mean, I made it as like a joke, like poke fun at the band a bit, and I brought it to the Cleveland meetup. I was going to do a couple shows, and they just started selling like crazy. I thought it was going to for sure flop. I was like, when I brought them out, I was kind of shy and like embarrassed of them. And then I was like, a family came up and bought like 5, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, and it's like, yeah, that shirt, like I went home, I've sold out after like 2 shows. I was like, wow. I went home, I got more printed, I tie-dyed them, and I went back on the road, Chicago to Red Rocks. Then I went back home after that for a November tour. I printed a load more, a couple other designs and some hats. I'm like, I had more time to plan. I drove to LA. I did all the way from LA to Miami. And like while I was driving to LA, they posted the Field of Vision post, which had Stu was wearing my shirt in it. I gave it to Joey at the Kentucky meetup. And I got to the meetup and I was like, holy shit, like, yeah, like this is real. Like people are looking for this shirt right now. And I'm like, oh wow. Like I never sold them online until this year. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was expecting it to totally flop at one point, and then I was like, all right, wow. I've been trying to slowly grow this into like a small business almost, and like, I have a year until my insurance is up. So like, if I, once that's up, and I'm like, okay, I need to go get a job so I can get health insurance. I'm like, I'm gonna try and do this for the next year. Maybe if I can keep my head above water and like pay my rent and whatnot, that's all I can really ask for. Like, this shit is just too fun right now, and like I do good, like I sell stuff online. If you want to like. I put up pre-orders and stuff. I just put up funny ideas that I have. It's not even like, I wouldn't consider my stuff really too artistic, but like I do have some stuff where I'm working now with like artists in the scene, and like my friend Ethan, we made a shirt, and yeah, I love doing this stuff. It's so fun to go to shows, like see all these wonderful fucking people. I've made so many good friends over the my travels, and it's been a great time. I mean, I feel like I won the fucking lottery. Like it's not even a joke. Like I'm like, damn, like I think about it. It's like it's a lot of work. I put like a ton of like, if I would have put more work, the amount of work that I put into this into something else, I would have probably made like 10 times the amount of money.
Right.
Yeah, it's literally like I poured a lot of energy and time into this, and just learning how to do tie-dye better too is like in and of itself it's worth it.
Yeah, dude, it's great to find like your little niche and end up having things work out. I mean, like we've been doing this podcast for about a year now, and we make no money off it. We just kind of do it for love of the game. But like it's fun. We put a ton of love and time and energy into it, and to see it like slowly grow is really satisfying. So like
it's it's like I said, it's not really about the money. The money is just for me to get around and like to support myself. I'm not like, no one's getting rich off of this stuff. I'm literally just having fun. Like I love seeing people wear my stuff. I want to see my stuff years down the road. I don't want like. Like that's the big thing is like I make stuff that I want I want to see in the future, like, oh shit, that's hilarious, like that's one of those things, like 10 years down the road I want to see what I make. It's cool, like you get really see like the fruits of your labor in a way, for what I experienced.
Dude, that's awesome. I just have one other question for you. Aside from your business and everything, with just your tour experience and going to these shows, are there any particular songs that you're chasing that maybe like you've never heard live from them before, or any in particular that you think would be kick-ass to hear in one of the orchestra shows?
Yeah, Cy Boogie. Like that's all I want to hear, low key. Like I had my first show was in 2019 in Milwaukee. Like my car broke down and my mom drove me, and yeah, I was just blew my mind. I just had to go see him again. I was like, that was fucking awesome. And like, they need to play Cy Boogie on the table. It's just like I know it's coming. They've teased it in the AMA or whatever, but like, yeah, they got to do it. I mean, it would like I like if they don't do it in New York, they're gonna hopefully do it in Field of Vision, and if they don't, I'm like, fuck, I gotta go to see them in Europe and fucking because they're gonna play it. The last like Europe show, I don't know.
Yeah, those rave sets. Hopefully, at least they would come out there. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, everything's nothing's off the table. That's what they keep saying. I'm like, they can play whatever the fuck they want. I'm happy at the end of the day. Same with this orchestra show. Like, in reality, there's some stuff I would like hear. Yeah, but like I want to hear what they want to put like because it's hard to pick a song to put with an orchestra, especially if you're writing like simpler songs. Like I'm sure like Iron Lung would be crazy with the orchestra because that's like some crazy fucking chord progressions. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm stoked to see them tomorrow and see what they bust out. And it'll be a time no matter what. The new album's one of my favorites, and I'm fucking so stoked to see it live. It's gonna be fucking unbelievable. I mean, yeah. I drove like 14 hours to be here, and I didn't sleep last night. And yeah, I've been like running on fumes all day, and I'm like, fucking, I would rather be like this now than fucking get to see this music than anything else in the world right now. So yeah, let's fucking thank you guys. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. We're all super hyped. The energy is good today, so we'll see what we get. It's going to be a kick-ass time. Thanks so much, Sam, for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thanks for letting me yap. It was fun.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Thank you. Enjoy the shows. All right, I am here with Jodie, who is the organizer of this lovely Giz fan meetup here in Philly. Have you organized any of the other meetups for this tour, or is this something that you've done before?
Not for this tour, but I did organize the Philly meetup last year. It was at the Manioc Brewery when they were playing the Dell Music Center. So yeah, this is my second time organizing this, and God, what a time and a half it was.
Yeah, this has been awesome, and you also played a set of some of your own original music as well. Do you want to tell me more about, like, is it just under your name, or do you have a band name that you want to plug and tell me a little bit about your music?
Yeah, so I perform under the name Redstone of Faith. I do kind of like a mix of alternative bubble grunge, art rock, that sort of thing. Been playing for a good 10 years now. 10, 12, nice even round number. Mostly songs off of an EP that I released in 2023, but I am trying to pump out a full length, at least one full length, by the end of the year. And people got to hear some new songs off of that, some fresh takes on old tracks. So yeah, I mean, I guess it was all fresh for everyone. They've never seen or heard me perform, so yeah.
And by the way, are you from this area, or did you travel from somewhere further off to come out here and do this?
Yeah, local, fairly. I'd say about a 10, 12-minute drive from here. Okay. So yeah, very familiar with the area. I knew that I wanted to lock into Fat Lady Brewing and have both a good space for meetup and also some stellar sound to host some bands. And it all worked out. It worked out really well.
Yeah, this has been a great time. This is only my second Giz meetup ever. I traveled to Detroit last year. I've talked about it a bunch on the show, but I went out to the acoustic set out there and hung out at the meetup and did a similar thing, like interviewing, talking to bootleggers and all sorts of stuff. And it's super cool, but this one was next level with both you playing and the other band, Heathmonger, as well, that played after you, were kick-ass. And so it was so cool to get like a free concert as well as hang around, get some cool merch, talk to other Giz fans and all this kind of cool stuff. Is just so awesome and unique, a new experience for me.
Yes, like that was most important to me, was that we came in and we just curated this energy of like, okay, all of these meetups, like this is us. Like we take care of ourselves, we keep ourselves entertained, we keep ourselves safe, we keep ourselves happy. And so I really wanted to stress the whole, okay, let's put on a show for ourselves. Let's set up a market for ourselves. Let's get back into the swing like we never fucking left. Excuse me, can I say left?
Yeah, you can curse. That's all right. No problem.
Oh, God. So, yeah, I really wanted to just have that be like the driving force, especially since this is the first meetup for the first show of the tour.
Yeah.
So no pressure on me whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I'm so fucking pleased. I'm sorry. I'm just like collecting myself, really taking it all in. Like this was such. Don't mean to pat myself on the back, but it was such a huge success. And I can't believe it's over. Like this place was bumping, and now everyone's breaking down. There are only like 2-3 people here left now, and shit. What do I do now?
Now you could just breathe. I mean, like, we got the, you said there's some people getting together tomorrow, the day of, and then the show. So, like, I feel like you could just kind of breathe now. You've done your part. You had a successful, awesome meetup here ahead of the show, and just chill out and just ride this thing and enjoy the music that's to come.
Yes. Yeah, as you said, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to go make sure everything's right with my gown tomorrow. We're going to really show the hell up tomorrow.
Yeah, you dressing up for you getting like a little fancy dressed up for the orchestral show?
You know it. Got myself a little emerald green dress and some black pumps.
Nice.
Yeah, we are going to be part of the belle of the ball. And I hope to see everyone there with their fancy gowns and their tuxedos and everything like that.
One last question for you, just speaking of the show and everything. Are there any particular songs that you're really chasing, or particular songs that you're hoping to hear outside of Phantom Island in this like orchestral setting that you think would just blow your mind and be so kick-ass?
Like anything off of Ice Death with an orchestra is going to just blow my mind. Like specifically Magma or Lava or Glees.
Yeah.
Like any one of those with an orchestra, oh my god, I am not ready for.
Yeah. That would be insane. My co-host Spenser was one of his, we kind of talked about this on our previous episode of things we're hoping for this tour, and he particularly really wants to hear Mycelium. He's like just such a huge fan of that song, and even though that might not be the first one you think of from that album, he's just like, I want to hear Mycelium. I think it would just be so cool and weird.
No, I respect that. You know, we love the deep cuts around here.
Yeah.
And, you know, like deep with Mycelium, you know, like that is a literal deep cut. So.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's not one you hear all the time as far as like favorite songs or like super big popular ones of theirs, but awesome. This has been so nice talking with you. Oh, it's so quiet now. Everybody's gone. The music has cut.
Everyone!
I guess that means it's time to get out of here. Jodie, thank you so much for talking with me for the show, and thanks so much for putting this all together. This was a blast.
Oh, thank you for having me on this podcast. Thank you for coming out. And just, yeah, thank you for being you. I'm glad you made it, bud.
Thank you. I'm so happy I made it here. All right, that was my discussion with some weirdos at the Giz meetup in Philly. That was at Fat Lady Brewing in Manayunk, specifically, that neighborhood of Philadelphia. Thank you so much to the three people I spoke to. That was Alex from OB Cogs, who makes some bootleg Giz vinyls. I spoke to Sam from Grim Reaper Goods, and Jodie, who was the event organizer for the meetup and is just a massive Giz fan and very involved in the whole fandom and community. So thank you so much to you guys. It was so nice talking to you and meeting you, and I think I got to run into those same three people again at the New York show as well, or at least I know I saw Sam around and said hi to Jodie again as well. So If you guys are hearing this now, thank you so much. It was so great meeting and talking to you. Thank you, Alex from OB Cogs, for that cool poly vinyl, and thank you, Sam, Grim Reaper Goods, for the 2 shirts that I bought that Spenser and I both wore at the New York show. I know you got to see us wearing those at the meetup as well. So yeah, that was great. That was so fun, and I think that's the perfect way to set things up here, because on top of asking about your businesses and your place in the community, we also spoke about songs and things you were hoping to hear at the show. And now here in the future, we know what was played, and so we can see if any of you fished your wish, so to speak.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed those conversations. Joe, a great job kind of inviting those people on the mic. It's always good to hear from fellow Gizzheads and people in the community, all the different creators of bootleg merch and all those cool goodies. I was really disappointed that I couldn't go to that one, but still was having a good time with the event I was at, which for those wondering, I was with my wife at the Savannah Bananas baseball game across town. Even if you're not a sports fan, they're always a good time. Picture like the Harlem Globetrotters, but baseball version. They're always like dancing, doing dance routines mid-game and pulling off trick plays and doing funny goofs and gags. They're a good time. Anyway, it was a shame I couldn't join Joe, of course, but I'm glad, Joe, that you had a good time there talking to those people. How about we roll right into the show now? As we said earlier in the show, this was at the Mann Center at the TD Pavilion in Philadelphia, kind of on the outskirts of town in this cool Rolling Hills neighborhood as part of this like big park area, kind of away from the hustle and bustle.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of a big, very green, very lush park, right on the outskirts of the city, as you were saying. Fairmount Park in particular is the name of that area, and it's really nice. You have this gorgeous surrounding of trees, and it's not what you'd expect, especially if you're coming from out of town and you don't know that area in particular. You're like, oh, I'm seeing this concert in Philly. You're expecting to feel like you're in a city, but you really don't when you're at that venue, other than the fact that from the lawn, there was this gorgeous view of the skyline downtown. So that was really cool. Just a beautiful spot.
Yeah, so gorgeous views and really a cool, well-built and interestingly arranged venue. We actually traveled and attended separately, but we did meet up, of course, for a little bit before the show. I went with my buddies Brad and TJ, shout out, a couple of good friends of mine who are kind of newer Gizzheads. They've gotten to know the band through a few singles and a couple of isolated albums in particular, but they're really coming into their own and enjoying the band, and they both had an awesome time at the show. You were there in a separate seating section with a couple of your friends, but we knew we were obviously in for ultimately a little something different than you would get at your typical Giz show, with this being the inaugural orchestral performance. So yeah, Monday, July the 28th, it's the dog days of summer, and it was a hot fucking evening, but worth it though.
Yeah, it was, as you might say, quite moist out that evening. But I will say, still probably the best, most exciting Monday I've ever had. It was kick ass for a Monday night show.
Yeah, I think I posted actually somewhere on the Podagon Infinity socials that has anybody else been sitting on a Friday and waiting anxiously for a Monday in a positive way? Yeah, me either, up until now. But that really was the case.
Yeah.
It was the weekend leading up.
Yeah, for real, all weekend I was just like, for the first time ever in my life, and probably the last, like, could not wait for Monday. I'm like, yes, Monday. So excited, here we come. And yeah, like you said, this was the inaugural show of the tour, so we were really the guinea pigs, basically, to this whole orchestral Giz experiment.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that was the case, because we had no idea what we're going to get into, like what was going to happen other than hearing Phantom Island live. It was just like, what else are they going to do? We know they're going to do more than just play that album. So obviously we gave our speculations and stuff in our pre-show episode, which was a lot of fun. And some of it came true, some of it didn't. But overall, man, it was just like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And just the whole entire time I was just, we'll get into why, but I was just shaking and screaming with excitement the whole time. It was so exciting. And I will say, I almost feel a little bad for people who were at any of the later orchestral shows who may have been spoiled on the set list, because they did have the same set list. They've been playing the same set at every single one of these orchestral shows, other than the fact that they've been doing sort of an intermission jam song in between Phantom Island, and then when the basically just like a break for the orchestra, right? They can disappear for 15-20 minutes, and then they came back out and played some other songs after Phantom Island. Those songs, that little intermission song that they did without the orchestra, those were different and have been different at every show since, which is really cool. So that is something to look forward to, of like, okay, what are they going to do in the intermission now? So, and I use the word intermission lightly because those guys didn't go anywhere. The Giz guys were standing right there doing their thing. They're like, we're used to playing 2-3 hour shows without moving from the stage. So that was normal for them. But I think that was nice that they gave the orchestra a little breather in there.
Yeah, definitely. I actually misheard them when I don't remember if it was Stu or Joey or whoever spoke. It was probably Stu, but basically said, okay, they're going to take a break. They, meaning the orchestra. I thought they had said, we're going to take a break, meaning everybody. But as I saw the orchestra kind of exiting their seats and heading backstage for their breather, I saw the band keep playing. I'm like, okay, they're not stopping. This is good. I enjoy and appreciate this. I think we'll get into that, what that interlude jam was in a little bit. Obviously, a lot of people already know what that was, but just to kind of give our 2 cents, we'll get to that eventually after a couple minutes, because I do want us to go through obviously the Phantom Island section of this show. General thoughts and memories, I just remember them sounding so crisp and fantastic. The acoustics, at least from where I was sitting, behind the main bowl, but still in kind of the stadium-style seats, not yet up on the lawn, not quite that high. The sound was phenomenal. Everybody sounded good. Sarah Hicks was the director. She's been directing this entire tour with the orchestra. I should say conducting the orchestra for each of those cities they've gone to. The Chamber Orchestra of Philadelphia were the fine folks helping make this show possible with Giz, and they were just on point. I remember the band posted on their Instagram and all their socials all these kind of teaser shots and video snippets of their rehearsals right after they landed in the U.S., and our curiosity and our excitement was so peaked after that. And dude, all that rehearsal, all that preparation absolutely paid off. There was not a hitch to be heard or seen.
Yeah, no, this orchestra was the real deal. I mean, these are top of their craft musicians, and Sarah Hicks was on top of things as well. You could tell she worked her ass off to like transpose these songs into or whatever the proper term is, but write them for an orchestra.
Yeah.
And just, I cannot even fathom the amount of work that goes into that. But as far as I understand, she was the one, I'm sure with the help of some other people, doing all of that and preparing for it. and she was just on fire, and she seemed to really be having fun doing it too. I mean, she was kind of bouncing around. There were, I'll mention this later, some particular songs that stood out where she was like really grooving along with the music while conducting, which was awesome. Like, I'm glad they got somebody who was really, really feeling it and fully just in and just loving this entire project, this entire experiment, as I referred to it earlier.
I was just in complete awe at the whole scene. I knew obviously that we were witnessing Giz history, with that being the orchestral debut in a live setting, but just absolutely blown away not 20 seconds into Phantom Island, the title track, the opener. It was just like a wave of sound and excitement rushing over me, sitting back in the section I was in. You were sitting quite a bit closer with your group there, Joe, but I was hooked from the very first couple of notes, right from that grandiose Phantom Island intro, and
Yes.
then it just continued and built from there. And I'm just going to keep kind of hit on a couple of standout highlights in just a brief sense here from throughout that part of the set. I remember my buddy TJ kind of turning to me from a couple seats down the row and saying, they sound amazing, and he's for reference. I know TJ is kind of a fishing for fishies stan, right up there with us. Besides that, he's been keeping more in pace with the recent singles and less so with the back catalog, I think. But he's a guy who appreciates music and knows so many cool indie artists out there and musicians that when he kind of makes a comment like that, I mean, he is impressed. So that was really cool to see. One of my less obsessive Gizzhead friends kind of remark
Right.
on the band like that. Of course, Dead Stick hit, and I think that with that being such a high energy, hugely popular single, that was when the house really got rocking. The center tracks on the album, they were obviously kind of settling into a nice groove, and the band and the orchestra both had a really nice toehold going. They were cruising right along. There were very few like extended pauses between songs, and in fact, very much like the studio album, they kind of like flowed fairly seamlessly from one track into another on multiple occasions, not on all of them. But yeah, for the most part, it was pretty straightforward performances of all the songs. They're really, I think, structurally and setting-wise, it didn't really make sense to do any crazy weird jams with these.
Yeah.
Because the orchestra prepped a very certain specific way. I am curious, though, your feelings on both Silent Spirit and Grow Wings and Fly. The former, I remember Silent Spirit felt a little bit slower in tempo, but maybe it was just me kind of being in my personal trance, quote unquote, to where it felt that way. And then Grow Wings and Fly somehow felt a little bit faster in tempo than it did on the album. Did you experience that anywhere?
So Silent Spirit, I don't remember too well off the top of my head. I have since gone back and listened to some audio from this show. There's actually the website Giz Tapes, I believe it was, has some audio posted that was recorded by someone in the audience, I presume, and it sounds like someone who's pretty close up to the stage. The sound is actually quite clear for just being recorded by someone in the crowd without the full mix and all of the audio from the separate mics and everything. I have gone back and listened to some of that, but not the whole thing. So Silent Spirit, I don't particularly remember that being slower, but I do remember Grow Wings and Fly standing out to me as being faster. And actually, right when it started from the top, Stu was, he started off that main, just that single note, like whatever at the beginning of the song. And he was not only playing it faster, but it was like not fully clean either, not as clean as it sounded on the album. It was like kind of like a slightly overdriven guitar or something. It was just more rockin' than it is on the actual album, and I really liked that.
Yeah, I liked it. There was just like the slightest bit of deviation there, and it kind of helped me gain an appreciation for, okay, there's some room, I think, to play with these moving forward into future tours. I think, whether they decide to tour with an orchestra on maybe limited occasions again, that would be really cool, or maybe they decide to turn some of these into kind of the standard rock jams, like kind of what in the way they teased Grow Wings and Fly before, the tour leading up to this album's release. That gives them some room to play around with that a little bit. So yeah, there is certainly some room for improvisation and development there and growth. I want to say that one of my, like, if I had to pinpoint like top 3 highlights, one of them for sure, would be the part in Sea of Doubt when Stu comes back in with "Here comes the sun to clear the fog, here comes a friend for me to lean on." And right when he sings that first part, "Here comes the sun," there's just this bright ass white light that's shown from behind the band and behind the orchestra right into the crowd. And I remember kind of squinting my eyes, but at the same time, I'm like, fuck yeah, baby, I love this. Yeah, there is the sun, basically. And
right.
but the
Close
sheer
enough.
but the sheer emotion of that lyrical passage and the way so many of the instruments dropped out like it does on the album, and it goes into this gentle sentiment. Oh, it just made my heart skip a beat. I kid you not.
Yeah, that is a beautiful moment for sure. I loved any parts where there was a little bit of a break from one section to another where like the music gets kind of quiet and the crowd's cheering and going crazy, and you just have the build up back into the, you know, out of the sea of doubt, and then you feel that build back in or whatever. It's just it was just wonderful. And I actually want to go back to the top of the show real quick. I have thoughts all over the place, but one thing I wanted to mention at the very top of the concert, when the band first came out, normally at a regular Giz show, the band comes out, everyone's cheering and going crazy, and like Stu or Joey or one of them will like scream into the mic and be like, yo, and you know, what's up, and whatever. Like they all like scream and they're all hyped up and everything. This was not the case. This show, they came out, the orchestra came out first, and people were cheering a little bit, they were taking their seats, and then the band comes out, everyone goes crazy as usual. But to my knowledge, I don't know if you remember any differently, but I don't think they said anything before they started playing. I mean, one of them might have said one like little hello kind of thing, but they were very like, they almost seemed kind of nervous. Like this was the first show with an orchestra like this, and you know, they had rehearsed like crazy, obviously, but I think they were a little nervous. They seemed kind of quiet and reserved, and they just were there to play the music as best as they could without any too much fucking around, basically. Did you get the same kind of feeling?
My memories are frankly pretty fuzzy of the seconds leading up to the beginning of Phantom Island, but I do kind of, if I can really claw back into the recesses of my brain, I definitely do remember it having a different feel than the one Giz show that I had been to before that, where it was just kind of a, you know, less of a, hey, what's up, everybody? It was more so like you said, like maybe a subtle little hello, glad to see everyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, just a more reserved, and yeah, there may have been a little bit of nerves there. Hard to blame them. I mean, this is such a different venture they've embarked upon here. They, of course, executed it beautifully. But yeah, good on them to kind of recognize, you know, we're not, we, the 6 of us, talking from the band's perspective here, we're not really the center of attention. We are sharing this stage with these incredible musicians behind us. So, yeah.
Exactly. I think maybe that's the reason for it, is not only is this a new thing and they're not sure exactly how well it's going to go, but it's not just them. Yeah, they're making space for all these other wonderful musicians and the conductor on stage with them, that like they know they have to be their best and be kind of locked in to the music, because if one of them slips up, it could kind of derail and throw everything off a little bit. So like they were, I think, just, I mean, that's the best way to put it. They were locked in. Like they were just there to play the music as good as they could and deliver a fantastic show and have all their hard work pay off. And my God, did it. Like just in general, I just need to say in general, like I said, they were locked in and everything just sounded so good. And I don't know if when I listen back, if they release the official audio or anything, which I'm hoping they do, because I want this concert on vinyl. I want this show on vinyl so badly. If anyone out there listens or is a bootlegger or anything like that, please make it happen whenever the official board mix audio is available. Please, I want a 2-disc set where the first disc is all of Phantom Island live and the second disc is the other songs on front and back. Okay, thank you. Make that happen. Anyway, they were just in general, I just need to say I enjoyed this album live at the show so much more than I even do on record, and I really like it. And I mean, it's like a lot of their music does, it's grown on me a lot. When I first heard it, it was like kind of a new thing and I wasn't sure what to make of it, but I liked certain parts. But over time, I've really grown to love Phantom Island, and this show just sealed the deal for me. I was like, I can't believe what I'm witnessing right now. Like, this is so beautiful. This music is so fucking good. Like, there was multiple times where I just felt chills. Like, I just want to cry. And I didn't. So, I'm not, because I'm not a little baby, but I wanted to, and I wanted to at certain parts. And you mentioned a couple particular moments that stood out to you. One for me, which I was really excited to hear live. Well, I'll give two. First of all, the opening moments of Phantom Island, good God, like chills with the piano and the strings slowly coming in and everything. It was just gorgeous. Ambrose is part of that song where he really got up and started walking around the stage like he does with the mic in his hand. 16 horses, doing all of that, just wailing, and everyone was going nuts. And that's, where the whole song really explodes. And then, just as I predicted, Dead Stick was so fun live. Obviously, that's like the most upbeat, fun, kind of grooving song of the whole album. That was so much fun. But where I really ascended into the heavens was when they played Eternal Return. And I had a feeling that was going to be the case, because that is one of my favorites on the album. I talked about that on our whole reaction to the album episode, I'm pretty sure. But I just... that song, right from the very beginning, the way it comes in with that wall of beautiful strings and Cookie's singing at the beginning, I just love his voice on that song. So as soon as they started playing that, I'm pretty sure I just like put my arm straight up in the air and was just like wide-eyed, like just fully like I could die right now and that would be okay. Like it was just everything I wanted it to be, man. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you had such a wildly beautiful experience with that one.
And that's completely sober. No drugs. I didn't have any alcohol. I had one sip of my friend's beer because I was just thirsty. But that is like stone cold sober experience. Like just I didn't need anything else.
Yeah, I had one kind of tall beer like a while before the show, and by the time we were like past Dead Stick, it had pretty much worn off. So I was in a similar state to you. The way that you spoke about Eternal Return just now, though, I felt near the end of Grow Wings and Fly, because that contained one of the moments that I was looking forward to the most for the live performance of this one. Ambrose's part near the end, you gotta stop the overwhelming self-doubt, catch me dancing in the summer rain with my tongue out, woo, and then the squeals after that. I remembered everybody just like, I remembered everybody singing along to the woohoos and the squeals and yelps that he lets out of that part, and everybody was in perfect sync in the crowd. There were moments in the show leading up to that where I had rocked harder, where I had grooved harder. There was not a moment in the show, though, compared to Grow Wings and Fly, where I smiled bigger, though, than that moment right there. Holy shit, dude.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was amazing. I remember, like, obviously we know that that's like the end of the song. They're about to wrap up and we still don't know what's coming next, but that was like the big crescendo at the end of the album, just like
peaking crescendo, I think you mean.
The peaking crescendo at the end of it. Thank you for correcting me there. Just like, yeah, it was just all the emotion of the whole album at the very end, and that final like woohoo from Ambrose was just like the cherry on top of like, fuck yeah, man. Like that was awesome. That was so fucking cool. Like just like everything just kind of hits you right at the end there.
Yeah.
And you know what, speaking of specific like little vocals or yelling from the certain guys, I gotta go back to Dead Stick for a second, because Joey nailed that yeah scream in Dead Stick towards the end. That was, and I specifically remember the second he did that, everyone was making noise the whole time, but everybody just this huge cheer erupts right at the yeah, like just oh my God, it was just like, yeah, he did the thing. Like it was just awesome.
So during the show, the entire night, the seat directly on my right was empty, so I kind of, for a lot of the evening, had my right arm kind of draped over the seat with its bottom kind of flipped up, unoccupied, and I felt, as a result, I kind of felt pretty free to, like, punch the air where I felt appropriate in some of the more triumphant and, kind of peak moments of the various songs. And right at that Joey near the end of Dead Stick, I remember doing that real hard because I knew I wasn't going to accidentally bump anyone with a hard elbow to my right or anything like that. I was free to kind of express myself, but oh my God, dude, that first set was just so amazing. They nailed it. So glad to have been there. Do you want to talk about the kind of that intermission jam now?
Yeah, let's do that. So as I mentioned, every orchestral show has been the same set list, with the exception of this intermission jam, because this is where the orchestra and the conductor get to step off stage, take a little breather, but the band keeps going, and at each of these shows has played a different song from their back catalog during that jam. And I actually got slightly not spoiled to what they were going to play, but slightly spoiled by someone actually sitting right in front of me as to the format of what they were going to do with these different sets, because there was a guy in front of me, I guess heard me and my friends discussing, like, what are they going to do next? Like at the end of Grow Wings and Fly, like we were like, oh my God, what's it going to be? And a guy in front of me, I guess, knew someone that was working at the venue during that show and had sent him a photo of basically like the blocking out of the time, like the order of operations at what time different things are going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it said on there, it wasn't super specific, but it just said like from this time to this time is like Phantom Island with the orchestra. Then, 20-minute break or whatever without orchestra, and then orchestra comes back or whatever, something like that. It was like something along the lines of the structure that ended up happening. So the guy showed it to us, and I couldn't look at it for very long. I was so like just in the moment, but I was like, oh, they're gonna do something else, and then they come back, and like, okay, well, we're gonna see what happens. Mm-hmm. So I got a little bit spoiled to that, but doesn't matter because I had no idea what they were going to play. Actually, in fact, at the very end, they sort of flowed right into another song. At the end of Grow Wings and Fly, they just kept jamming, just pretty clean guitars for a while. They actually teased another song. They did a little bit of the melody from Am I in Heaven, which was interesting. You just heard the little like do 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 do, and so I looked at my friends to my right. I was there with my two friends. Shout out to Nick and Emily, and also my girlfriend Rachel was to my left. So I wasn't bothering her too much the whole time. She could already see I was in the zone and just, she was just like taking it all in. But with my friends who know all the music better, I was like, every time I heard a little thing, I was like, oh, that's this song and that's this or whatever. So I'm screaming at them the whole time. So there was some Am I in Heaven teases as this just end of Grow Wings and Fly jam, but they very slowly worked their way and picked up the energy into another song. And actually, before they started, they kind of came to like almost a full stop. And I think it was Joey that said, hey, Ambrose, you ready to get this thing started or something like that? And I was like, oh, so like an ambi-led track. Okay, this will be interesting. And what did we get, Spencer? What happened?
The dripping tap, baby. I had this on my short list, kind of my wish list of songs I wanted to hear. And it took me totally by surprise because I assumed like there's no way we're going to hear it at the orchestral show. But of course, with this being that interlude jam, the orchestra was not backing them on this one. It was the lone rocker of this evening. But just color me shocked that of all places to get the dripping tap was as the interlude jam at the orchestral show. Holy shit, when he sang those opening lines, the dripping tap won't be done up. Oh shit, I just went nuts, as did everybody else in the seating bowl. Damn, dude. And of course he has the mic cord kind of draped over his shoulder like he does to have a little slack to work with as he wanders the stage. Jesus, man.
Dude, so the second I just hear, the drum fill from Cavs, like the beginning of the song, and he goes into that, and everyone's screaming because, like, we had no idea what was going to happen. There was no way to know. And I immediately was like, oh my God, holy shit. And I'm like freaking out. And then, like, very quickly, I just go into, like, screaming every word right along with Ambrose. Like, I don't know every word to that song, or at least not like Stu's verses, but like that main part that Ambrose sings, I always like have to yell along to that song. So I'm like screaming every word. We're all going crazy. Just so unexpected. And that was the first time I got to hear Dripping Tap live, and that would be the same for you as well, since last year in Philly was your first show. So that was a new one for me that I can cross off of the list of songs from them that I have really wanted to hear live. And just, oh my God, it couldn't have been, like, there are so many songs I would have been happy to hear there, but I think that was a great pick.
It was.
Yeah, and just to clarify about the format of it, they did not play the song in its complete entirety. They didn't quite have a full 18 minutes and change to do the full song. Specifically the like drip drip from the tap don't slip section that wasn't in there. It was kind of just like it was most of it. I think they played at least for like 10, 12 minutes, I'd say, maybe somewhere in that range. Like they did the song for a while, and it was enough for me to be fully just satisfied and just have my mind blown. It was so good.
Yeah, I'm not overly upset about them not playing that part. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I'm just like appreciative of the fact that we got all of Ambrose's typical parts and all of Stu's verses. We still got to sing along with Stu's don't get drowned, hoo, woo. That part is kind of indispensable, So yeah, it's just felt so fortunate to have gotten that. It's just a song that is it's just grown and like ascended so quickly toward the top of my favorite songs. Maybe one day we'll do kind of a song rankings. I know we're doing an album rankings episode one day in the future, but maybe a song ranking is in the cards too. Who knows? This has to be up there. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, that was amazing, and I thought it might just be fun just to touch on some of the other intermission tracks, as we're calling them, that they've done at some of the other orchestral shows, at least all the ones that have happened so far. So, of course, they played Dripping Tap for us in Philly. In New Haven, Connecticut, they played Hot Water, which is cool. I've been seeing some clips, little bits of all of these on Instagram, which has been nice to get a little taste of all these shows I didn't get to go to. Then night one at Forest Hills in New York, they did Magma, which that one would be, that's one I'd love to hear live. I haven't heard much of that album live, so that would be great. Columbia, Maryland, they did apparently a little bit of Cutthroat Boogie at first, but then it transitioned into Boogeyman Sam, which I just put in parentheses in my notes here, just jealous. Just jealous. I want to hear Boogeyman Sam. That's awesome. And then after that, they played the Ravinia Festival in Chicago, where they did a rock version of Thea. And I'm getting all this info from setlist.fm. Thank you to the good people there who put all this together. They did a rock version of Thea, and this is what they had listed on there as well, that they also did Land Before Timeland and Vomit Coffin Teases, which is okay, interesting. And also Field of Vision and Sharp Dressed Man Jams.
What?
Sorry? What did I miss? Sharp Dressed Man Jams. I don't know. I was listening to some of this on YouTube. Someone had uploaded a clip of this moment of them doing this song at the show. And I was kind of listening to bits and pieces of it before we were getting started, and I didn't hear Sharp Dressed Man. It must be further later on. Maybe I didn't listen to the whole thing or something, or I was distracted. But yeah, that stood out to me. That's interesting. And last but not least, the most recent show, as we said, was just last night as of this recording. Their show in Colorado Springs. They played Self-Immolate with Perihelion Teases, which that is just sick. Those are two Rat's Nest songs that I haven't gotten to hear live yet, and really want to. I really want to hear both of them. Two of my favorites off of Rat's Nest. So yeah, those are some of the little Sans Orchestra songs that they've done at each of those shows, and man, just some really good choices in there. Everybody's eating good all over the country at these shows.
Yeah. How about we get into some of the second set from the Philly show, which, as we alluded to earlier, I think was the same throughout all these orchestral dates and will continue to be for the orchestral shows that'll take place after this recording, the day this happens to fall on. So in order, it's been The River, Crumbling Castle, This Thing, Mars for the Rich, Dragon, and Iron Lung. A really, intentionally varied mix of songs there for that 6-song portion of the set, and I think they did a good job of getting a couple of extended songs, couple of the longer songs in there. You of course have The River, which is legendary in the Giz catalog, Crumbling Castle, which is a couple of years newer, of course, but occupies a different sector entirely, despite being in kind of a similar length. This Thing, which just satiates all of us blues rock fans of the band, all of us Fishies stands that appeased us somewhat. Mars for the Rich, Dragon, you get some metal in there, and of course, you gotta get some Ice Death. I had a sneaking suspicion we were gonna hear something off Ice Death in the orchestral sets, and Iron Lung was a solid choice.
Yeah, with the jazzy nature of all of Ice Death, you could definitely see a lot of that translating well with an orchestra. So, and you were hoping on our discussion before the shows, you were hoping for something off that album. Specifically, you did mention Mycelium, which I think was a long shot, but maybe someday still, maybe we'll get it. But oh my God, if I had to get anything, I think Iron Lung is probably what I would have chosen, actually. So, yeah, that was insane. I have a few notes on each of these songs, nothing too in-depth or crazy. I just have some thoughts on each of them because every song they played was just more insane than the last and blew my mind into space more than I could have hoped for. So they went with The River first. You read the whole set list there. So as you said, The River was after the Stripping Tap Jam. The River was just such a good, perfect choice, man. As you said, it's a classic. It's a fan favorite. People love hearing this song live, and we actually got to hear it last year in Philly, too. Normally, they don't repeat songs from a city that they visited before. They try to do a completely new set next time they visit each city. But you know what? I'm not mad about it because this was unlike any river we've heard before. This was brand new with the orchestra on it. Last year we got a super long river that was like 26 or 27 minutes long. That was actually like really heavy and crazy, and this was a nice contrast to that. I loved this. Is my favorite version of the river I've ever heard. This was just so gorgeous with the orchestra. And I mentioned before that I was hoping to hear God Is in the Rhythm more than anything off of Quarters, but my lord, was this actually like so insanely good and pretty, and the river is just such a perfect choice.
Yeah, the river honestly was, I think, one of the, if I may be so bold, one of the right choices for this. And I should have seen this one coming because in hindsight, that was just kind of a duh. Of course they're going to have to work that one in. Kind of one of the older Giz era, like mainstay classics. It just made perfect sense. And with the way that the melody kind of proceeded and developed with the I think especially with the descending part of the vocals in that song, I don't believe it is frozen, and hearing the strings going with that part, dude, it worked so well. So I enjoyed that big time.
Yeah, the strings and the horns there, like it just sounded so right. It was just so good. Then moving on from that, this was a song I had very clearly said I wanted to hear more than anything with the orchestra, and I was blessed with it. And also, so was Alex from OB Cogs that I interviewed at the Philly meetup. He was he is a massive Polly fan. It's his favorite album, as he said, his favorite album, period. And this was what he mentioned as well, was hoping to hear Crumbling Castle. And dude, from the very beginning, those initial drums coming in and the bass together, like, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, there's no way they're actually doing this. They're actually like this. I'm in a dream right now. This isn't real. This is all like my perfect scenario of everything that is happening. Unbelievable. Just as like just huge and epic and crazy as I had imagined. And one of the coolest thing about it, it sounded good throughout the whole song, but the orchestra at the very end. Now, normally the band, when they play the song live, at least in recent history, they haven't done the outro section, you know, that really slow, I don't want to be. That whole section, they don't normally play that live. They just kind of end the song right before that, and they don't come back in. Not only did they do the outro, but all the rest of the band stopped except for Cavs and the orchestra. So he's still hitting the drums, and the strings and the horns just playing the bah, 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 bah. Like, I vividly remember having both my hands on the sides of my face, like the Scream, or like Macaulay Culkin on the cover for Home Alone. Like my hands on my face, just like my face was just melting off. Like, I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard and seen in my entire life. Like, if I could, I would just take that and shoot it right up into my veins. Like, it just, God. I remember, absolutely unreal.
Yeah, I remember people around me were exclaiming just like, holy shit, this is going so hard. And yeah, that outro part was just so dark and heavy and evil sounding, like it is on the studio album, but the orchestra just helped take it to another level entirely. My God.
Yeah. Then after that, we got to hear this thing. We finally heard a song off of Fishing for Fishies, the album that got us so deep into Giz to begin with. Thanks to also my friend Nick, who was with me at the show. He's the one that got me into Giz, basically. I knew a couple of their songs, but he's the one that some years back told me to listen to Fishing for Fishies, and that's the one that like started the domino effect of getting me down to this point of being here where I am now on a podcast about them. So, and the same thing for you. I got you into the band by showing you that album, because I thought, you know, this is a nice kind of easily digestible one that you'll vibe with as someone who loves like a lot of classic and alternative rock, and I think you know, whatever. So we've talked about that a bunch before, but wow, finally I've heard something off of this album. I've been waiting for it since the first time I saw them live in 2022. And so that friend Nick that was with me, he was right next to me, and the second I heard those drums in the very beginning, I like grabbed him on both shoulders and was just jumping up and down. I'm like, yo, it's this thing. Like I was just like completely just like just a kid on Christmas morning, like opening his Xbox that he just got for Christmas.
Yeah.
Like just jumping up and down, freaking the hell out. Yeah, that blew my mind. And I think this was a great pick as far as anything from that album goes, because the original has some strings and stuff in the background that kind of fill in the soundscape of the song. So I think that actually fit perfectly, and it was so good. It was so good.
I would assume, and I'm not sure if we addressed this on our Fishies episode, which was holy shit a long time ago, but that it was like, because that was literally our first album discussion episode on this show.
Yep, that 1 year ago.
Yeah, now how time flies, but. Obviously, this one is a standout track on the album, but I don't remember if we discussed the presence of strings on that episode for this song. But I'm pretty sure, not 100%, so please feel free to write in and correct if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's like keyboards on like the string setting and not an actual orchestra contributing, but still sounds great. And I think because of that, like you were kind of hinting at, it was probably the most appropriate choice for this live setting.
Absolutely. And then after this thing, these things took a heavier and even crazier turn than we had even had so far, because as we had discussed potentially happening, we got some metal tracks. We got a nice pairing of two heavy-ass songs. We got Mars for the Rich and we got Dragon. So we got one from each of the real heavy, thrashy albums. Specifically, so I was saying earlier that there were some moments where Sarah Hicks, the conductor, seemed to be really into the music and kind of bouncing along and grooving to it. Specifically during Mars for the Rich, she was so into it. Like I could see her just kind of bouncing up and down and moving her whole body while conducting and everything. So that was so fun to see her just really feeling it and having a good time.
Yeah.
During there's the section of that song that has the bass solo that normally Lucas is doing on his own, and the bassist in the orchestra, I don't remember for sure if it was a cello or if it was a full-size upright bass. I think it was a full bass, but that player was locked in with Lucas for that bass solo, as well as some of the other strings and horns at the same time, that they were all playing his solo in sync with him, and it sounded just so cool.
Yeah, that's always been a highlight on that song for me. Damn. I remember, too, in the days leading up to the show that we were anticipating maybe some sort of either acknowledgement or some sort of actual musical tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, who had sadly recently passed away before this show. To me, Mars for the Rich and that kind of chugging riff, that's really Black Sabbath in my book. That just screams of something out of the Tony Iommi catalog, and I don't really think it was intentional for that purpose. Like, here's a, tribute to Ozzy, but I think it kind of aligned perfectly in that way. But of course, more so, I think, just one of the most popular songs off of Infest the Rat's Nest. Rat's Nest, I do feel like kind of misses some people who really aren't about the heavy metal, and I understand that. Like, you get the kind of subsets of Giz fans who understandably maybe like the microtonal stuff or the more prog stuff compared to the more the straight thrashy metal or whatever. That's understandable. Then you have the reverse. Some people love the metal and are less about like the gentle acoustic or the electronic stuff. I feel like Mars for the Rich is one of the select few on that album that kind of bridges that gap a little bit. So a good way for them to reach, I think, more subsets of the fan base. Excellent selection, loved it, and absolutely went apeshit when they started playing it.
So as I said, we got more metal going right into Dragon after Mars for the Rich, which was just insane, but I'm glad that we got any metal at all, but having one from each of those albums was just so cool, so awesome. And we heard this song last year as well. They played this in Philly, but certainly not like this. Just like I said with The River, this was a new version of a song they played last year. And in fact, actually, I remember Joey saying something. It was either right before they played it or right after. And I think it was after. And he said like, oh, normally we don't do repeats, or like he said something to that effect about it. So it was kind of funny that they like had that in mind and knew that. But just because it was this set set list for every show. It would have been really hard to pick all songs that they haven't played in all these cities or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was kick-ass. And then finally, closing out with Iron Lung, which was beautiful, so cool, such a great closer. I think that was a great choice to put it at the end. It was really great to finally hear this live. I think if I had to pick one, this probably is my favorite track from Ice Death, or close to it. And my one friend, Emily, that I was with, is a huge fan of this album and was going absolutely crazy because this has been like her number one like chasing song, like just last year was hoping for it and it didn't happen. And so as soon as I heard that opening guitar parts, like she was sitting down for a second and I'm like, I look over and I'm like, it's Iron Lung, and she's like, what, and stood up and was like just totally mind blown. So that was really exciting. And yeah, and that was the end of the show. And then at the very end, Stu thanked the conductor and he thanked the orchestra, and he kind of like was pointing at everyone and really fast went, thank you, which was really great. And thanking the audience, of course, as well, and saying he loves us and all the usual stuff. I think there was some relief at the end of that it went so well. They were just feeling good and just feeling the love, and everything was just fantastic.
Yeah, it really felt phenomenal to have been there for that maiden voyage of this orchestral project. And oh my God, dude, I am so glad we got tickets. Grateful.
Yes, very grateful. Thank you, Giz, for never leaving Philly behind, man. They almost always come to Philly when they tour the U.S., which I am very appreciative of. So hopefully that never changes, and we get to keep seeing them every year.
Okay, so that was our experience and some of our top memories from the Philly Orchestral Show and its preceding meetup. Let's transition now here in the second part of the episode and talk Forest Hills. We'll begin with some of the sound bites of the few people we talked to on mic at the Forest Hills meetup. Shout out to Cobblestones Brewery in Queens, New York. That was a just excellent spot for a Giz meetup. Just nice open kind of courtyard area with a bar outside in addition to the indoor space. But yeah, we had some great conversations. I was finally glad to have made it to a meetup myself along with Joe. So this was my very first Giz meetup. Let's hear some of those interviews now. Alrighty, so we are here outside of Cobblestones Brewing in Queens, New York, and for the first time, I think, we've been approached by someone who actively listens to the podcast. Jared, what's going on, man?
How's it going? Really good. Excited for night two.
Yeah, so we're here outside of the brewery, as I said. What are you hoping to hear from the band here at night two? Some deep cuts, any favorite tracks kind of off the beaten path that you're hoping for?
I've been liking how the last leg of the tour, they were going back and remixing some of the songs on the table and like kind of revisiting those and then jamming them out. So I'm hoping for like something like that, like maybe something from Butterfly 3000. I don't know. Other than that, we got everything that we wanted last night with The River and Crumbling Castle and Dragon, all with the orchestra. I don't know. I'm kind of ready for whatever they play.
Ready for just about anything. I mean, you and us both were hoping for some Butterfly 3000 in there as well. And I know we're hoping for the eventual bust out once again of God Is in the Rhythm, or maybe the eventual debut of Fishing for Fishies. But I guess let's get away from the specific song selection. I guess how long have you been following the band? How long have you been a fan, and how many shows have you made it out to?
Well, last year we caught our first show, so we went to Jacobs Pavilion in Ohio, and then we, a month later, went to the two shows that they played at Red Rocks. And this will be our third and fourth and fifth shows then, technically. Yeah, no, beautiful venue that we're at tonight. We were there last night for the first time too. Yeah, stoked to catch them again.
Hell yeah. So if you were to choose, from all of your live show experiences, all the shows that you've been to so far, any memorable performances of any particular song that stand out in your mind?
Definitely whenever they played Dragon last year at Jacobs Pavilion, and there was a boat that was going right behind the stage, and we could see everybody on the boat like looking out, and I can just imagine what they were all thinking when they saw the crowd like chanting in Latin and stuff.
That's good stuff, man. Anything else you want to add?
No, not really. Just excited, glad to meet you guys. Excited. I like what you guys do on the pod. It's fun to listen along to the album review and then listen to it with some new context. Because I listen to them all the time and find my own meaning in the songs. It's cool to hear other people's input.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, this is Joe here outside of Cobblestones in Queens, New York. I just ran into Ryan, who is somebody I interviewed last year in Detroit when I was at the meetup. You were kind enough to give us that introduction to the segment that we did, and then we chatted a little bit as well of the shows you've been to and your experience. So it's been a year since I've seen you, man. How you doing, and what's been going on since then?
Doing well. It's good to be in New York. The orchestra show last night was amazing, and really looking forward to the rock set tonight. It's been a long road. Good to get back in the pit last night for the first time after breaking my ankle in California last year at the Forum. It was good to see all the familiar happy faces in New York in the bootleg section here, and just get welcomed back into the pit.
Hell yeah, man. So tell me more about breaking your leg in California. Was that in the pit on the floor, and how exactly did that happen, and how did you make it out of there? What was the rest of your night like after that?
Yeah, so it was about halfway through the show. It was right as the Nonagon stuff got going, and I think it was Robot Stop, and it was a massive circle pit was going. The speed got moving, and at some point someone I think I got stepped on and pushed at the same time, and then you just hear that. And you gotta, it's okay, something's wrong. And I hobble out, and I'm trying to mouth to people hey, yo, I'm hurt, can you help me? But I think no one can understand what I'm saying. It's loud, they're probably on drugs and shit. And so I just hopped out to the bar. They had a medic, thankfully. He came out. I'm laughing. I was thinking it was hilarious. And he wrapped my leg up. I took a selfie with him, and then I hobbled back out into the floor and finished out the rest of the show. I had a guy that I had met in Portland that he was staying with me at my hotel that night. So thank God for him, because he hobbled me out back to the car. We went back to the hotel that night, and I ended up getting checked out the next day. But yeah, once I unwrapped my leg, it massive swelling. It was crazy. And I finished out the tour from there, because I flew out for the rave set, and then this happened on night one. It was 7 more days in California. I'm freaking out. I'm should I go home? Can I go home? Can I drive? What the hell's going on? And all this time, I've got these two guys that I just met. They're staying with me, and I'm I may be leaving and dipping, but I got the rental car. It was literally a massive clusterfuck in the most crazy way. But then so I spent the second night. I spent San Diego. I watched the acoustic set from my bed in the hotel room. And, I was man, maybe this is it. Maybe this is a tour for me. But at the end of the night, I was nah, we're doing this. And the guys were nah, we're here for you. And we finished it out, man. It was crazy. I got to learn a lot about ADA. I learned a lot about how supportive the Giz community is, because there's friends that I made on stops along the way that after that happened to me, they come and check on me at ADA. They would come say hi to me. They know I'm not in the pit. They know I'm missing it. And people are coming to say hi, man, and it was just really a blessing, dude. And so, yeah, it's been really cool to come back once again, just tie it all together. It's really nice to be back here.
And when you were at those other shows with your injury, did the venues provide you with a wheelchair just so it was easier to get around, or were you on crutches, or how the hell did you get around to all those other shows with your leg all fucked up like that?
Yeah, I got crutches the second day, so I was crutching around for the rest of the tour, yeah. And so they give you basically it's great, you don't need a placard or something. If you just roll up and your leg is obviously fucked up, they'll just give you ADA. They're okay, the free parking is over here, the cheap, the easy access line is over here, and here's your seats. Some of the seating is better in various places or not, but at the rave set, I was right up front on the far left. It was dope.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask is how was the seating for those specific sections? But it sounds like it was pretty good, so you still got the most out of the experience and didn't miss too much after your injury and just rode that shit out, man.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, it was cool. It's I've been in the pit for a long time, many years, and it was the first injury in the pit, so it was a little bit of a battle scar, well earned. And yeah, it's like you got to take the risk, dude. You know, you got to do something dangerous to have a little fun. So
Exactly.
yeah, I'm back in the pit tonight. Let's fucking go.
Hell yeah, man. Great way to put it. So good to fucking catch up with you again. And we're going to have a kick-ass time tonight. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Fuck yeah, dude.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Citizens of New York City. Forest Hills, August 2nd. Let's fucking go.
The return of the king. All right, I'm here outside of Cobblestones in Queens with another person to talk to. This is Ben, who is a massive Giz fan who's been to a shitload of shows. I talked to you in Philly before at the meetup last weekend, and we didn't get the chance to record anything then, but of course you're here because you're everywhere. So we're going to chat now here in New York. So what's going on, man?
It's going good. We're out here. We're about to see King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Fuck yeah, dude. How was the show last night, and what are you looking forward to tonight for the rock set? Any particular songs or anything you're hoping for?
So last night was spectacular. It was actually so much fun to have a proper pit with the orchestra. It was so cool. As soon as Grovelings and Fly went on, everyone knew what was happening. We all started the pit, and it was a lot of fun. But for what I'm hoping for this next one right now is I'm really thinking that these songs are coming out. I'm thinking Sad Pilot, Mirage City, and Hog Calling from B741. We might hit a lot of microtonal because they haven't done any microtonal in a while. Yeah. I think they're going to do some table too. So like Grim Reaper, Kepler 22B, something off Silver Chord is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, maybe some Butterfly too, I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's Shanghai maybe. But what I really, really want to happen is Head on Pill. They've never done a Head on Pill in Forest Hills, and, you know, it's everyone's favorite. That's all we want to hear.
Yeah, I was looking up we were looking over the set list on the ride up here and just trying to discuss, like, what didn't they play at Forest Hills last year? Because they played 2 nights, so there was a lot of stuff they've already covered. But usually they don't do any repeats each year in each city, so that was one I was thinking of. There was no Head on Pill last year, so, like, shit, that would be crazy if they either open or like close with that. I feel like that's a big song they could do either with. That would blow everybody's mind. And yeah, but otherwise, like, I think they're gonna bust out some weird stuff because, like you were saying, like, there's been no microtonal with the orchestra, and
no table either.
Yeah, no table either. So I think we're gonna get a decent electronic set tonight too, probably maybe towards the end or like somewhere in the middle. They kind of break it up, something like that. They've kind of done it both ways, but. You went to a ton of shows in the last year. I mean, you were all over the place last year, but this year you've been all over, including the Europe tour as well. So tell me a little bit about that, like any particular memorable moments or stories from your travels around Europe, and did you have like a favorite city or a favorite night at all?
So I've been on tour and seeing every single show since the Anthem last year in 24. I feel like the energy inside of Lithuania Night 3 captured what the band was about entirely. I felt like there was more crowd participation there than ever before, with Igneous getting on stage to do Dragon, and then they put the Evil Knievel guy for La Risk, and then I also did throw my shirt on stage for that one too, and he put it on, and that was really fucking cool for me too. I was like crowd surfing backwards, and I look backwards, I see that he put on my shirt, I was like, no way! Yeah. It was so fucking cool. But my favorite part about the entire thing was Plovdiv. They showed up to Plovdiv specifically for the fans, like the super fans that were on the whole entire tour. Like, they saved all the bust outs for that one. It was really special because they knew all the super fans that went on the whole tour, they're going to show up to Plovdiv, the ancient theater. That theater was built in the year 1. Like, it's literally multiple thousands of years old. And it was so magical from start to finish. Every single set was so cool. That was my favorite. That was my favorite show up until Philly of this year. That orchestral, like, when they really felt like they took lightning out of the bottle there. It felt like whenever they took that stage, it wasn't like going to a normal concert anymore. It was more of a performance. It was like a play. It was like a theater. And you could see that they spent literally their entire lives as King Gizzard to put on that show for us. It was everything that it culminated over time inside of the set list at the end. Like, it felt like they finally told us the entire story. I don't know if you know that, like, at the beginning of King Gizzard, they said they know exactly what they're going to do whenever they end it. I feel like, yeah, they're not going to end it anytime soon, but, like, that's what they wanted to tell us right there. And I think that it was going to be the most special show that they ever put on. And I'm really excited to see how they'll be able to top themselves in the future, because I know Stu always wants to top himself. He's always pushing himself, challenging himself to new limits to see what is possible inside of his band. And I'm super excited to see what's next for these guys.
Yeah, man, I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm like super hype. It's so cool to see the way they've evolved, and like the orchestral show in Philly, the first night of the tour, like we were the guinea pigs. Nobody knew what the hell was going to happen, like what the hell they were going to do other than playing Phantom Island. It was like, that's all we know. Anything else like goes. Like we have no idea. And it just blew my mind, and I thought that I probably already said this like in this episode a bunch of times, I don't know, or I will, but like that was the tightest I've ever heard them play. And I haven't been to like a huge amount of shows. That was my 4th time seeing them. So like it's not like I have a huge catalog of like tons of sets I've seen, but I followed along with a lot of the live streams and all this over the last year. And I thought that was just the tightest they've ever sounded, because you could tell, like, I mean, they had to really rehearse with that orchestra. Like, they had to be locked in, and they were so fucking locked in. That album live sounded so much better than I could have even imagined. Like, and I loved the album itself, but it was better. It was so much better live. And I'm hoping somebody, like, puts out a bootleg of that show. And like,
need that.
Yeah.
I'll pay $1,000 for that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even joking. Like,
Yeah.
that Philly performance was something else. I used to spin Phantom Island. At first, I didn't really understand it until like I spinned it like maybe for the 10th time, and it finally locked for me. I was crying to Eternal Return. I was like, oh my God, I get it now. And I saved it. I put it on the shelf, and I waited a whole month for to see it again. And then whenever they came out with that, it was kind of funny watching them come out scared. I've never seen the band come out scared ever.
They seemed really still and calm when they came out. Like, normally they come out and Stu's like, yeah, and screaming and shit. But they came out and they were just like, hi. Like, I think they were a little nervous, man. Like, it was the first one, but holy shit, was it tight. It was so good.
Once they got inside of it, like, especially in Lonely Cosmos, they were inside of it. They were there to make it perfect. And that's something that King Gizzard hasn't been doing for a really long time now. Like, they used to try to get their stuff really tight. But then I've loved the direction they took it, where they got really jammy and they don't care. It's super loose. They fuck up and they own it. But what they wanted to do there was just like to the T, to the last drop. It was beautiful. Yeah.
It was just perfect. So I'm excited to see what happens tonight. Obviously, this episode is out after everything happens, so we're going to be talking about it in past tense and somewhere else in the episode here, and it's going to be cool. But as of right now, we have no idea what's coming, but I'm super hyped. Thanks so much for chatting with me, man. This has been really nice talking. Ben Bacon, everybody.
I love you.
So once again, thank you to Jared, who's been a Podagon Infinity listener for a bit now. Jared from Pittsburgh. Very excitedly joined us on the mic there. I apologize that I was substantially buzzed at that time that I was interviewing Jared, but I remember having a great conversation with Jared and his girlfriend and talking a little Pittsburgh stuff. I know, Joe, obviously you went to Pittsburgh recently, and I've been there myself a couple years ago, but had a good time chatting with Jared as well as with Ben Bacon and Ryan from Texas, a.k.a. Macho Man #2 out there, I guess. He does that incredible Macho Man impersonation voice. You spoke with the latter two on mic.
Yeah, you took the first one with Jared. That was super cool. He just kind of walked right up to us as we were getting ready to do some of the interviews, and I was about to get my equipment out and everything, and he just walked right up and was like, yo, are you guys Podagon Infinity? And we were like, yeah, what the hell? Like, that was such a surreal experience, because there were people at the meetups that I talked to, other people who make artwork or merchandise or whatever, people in the community that I mentioned what I do, and I'm like, my name is Joe, I do this podcast, Podagon Infinity, and they were like, oh, I've heard of you, or I follow you on Instagram or whatever, and that was already super cool. But to have someone just approach and recognize our faces, like from seeing us online and stuff, and just come right up and tell us that he listens to the show and like really enjoys it, to get through his work days and stuff, and work his way through the whole band's catalog, was just so cool. So thank you, Jared, for that, and thanks for taking the time to chat with us too. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, and as you mentioned, Ben is an insane, massive Giz fan who's been traveling the world following them for a while now, so it was cool to get his perspective, as well as Ryan, once again, who I met in Detroit last year at the meetups. It was cool to connect with him again. He walked right up while we were, I think, finishing Ben's interview, and and I looked at him. I was like, oh, I know you. Like, what the hell? Like, it was cool that he was there and found us. So awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
So let's get into the show a little bit. First of all, to set the scene for those of you who have not been to Forest Hill Stadium, old historic tennis stadium that I believe hosted the U.S. Open for many decades. One of those places that kind of fell into disrepair for a little bit in the 70s and 80s. They kind of brought it on the up and up, made some renovations and repairs, and it's just this cool, almost like castle-like facade as you approach. And Joe, I remember vividly as we were approaching, kind of coming from the outer kind of vendors area and going through the tunnels to the seating bowl, we were just like, oh, this is such a wild and cool setting for a Giz show. It just felt so old and historic and monstrous to us. But, you know, we got in there, we settled in. Shout out to U.S. Girls, who were the opener for that show. Toronto-based project, I believe. They've actually been at it for a little bit longer than Giz, per a quick search that I did right before their set. But they rocked our socks off, got us warmed up for the Giz, and from the get-go, we knew this would be kind of a heavy, darker set list, decidedly, because as the show unfolded, the first 4 songs were all of the metal persuasion. We got Gaia, Predator X, Supercell, and Superbug, and I recall distinctly, you know, at many Giz shows, they kind of do a little warm-up. Okay, Cavs is going to slap the drums around a bit. Stu and Joey are maybe going to like, play some frenetic chords on their guitars. It's not necessarily going to be the start of a song. They're just kind of getting their muscles loosened up. And it's not always an indication of what they're going to play first. This time, though, it did more or less align with what they were starting with. They did kind of this heavy metal-sounding riff, and you turned to me and you're just like, are we going to get something metal to start? And sure enough, Gaia, and we just went, oh, ape shit. Yep, and that kicked off, like I said, the 4, not really a suite because they're not from the same album, but kind of a grouping of 4 back-to-back metal tracks.
Yeah, they certainly weren't kidding when they advertised this as a rock show. I mean, that was an understatement because this was, for a big part of it, just the straight-up metal show. Like, it was just nuts. That run of 4 songs right off the top, all heavy stuff, and the Supercell and Superbug, we got the Super back to back, which was pretty sick.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've gotten to hear either of those songs live, I'm pretty sure. So those were both new. So now I've gotten to hear a whole lot of Rat's Nest and Petro live, which is great. I'm glad they play that stuff so often. Just, yeah, high energy from the beginning, just absolute insanity. I loved it. We were just thrown right into the chaos, and it was so sick.
Yeah, I have to bust in here real quick and say that I had a Giz-related dream the night before this show, and I immediately woke up and messaged you and said, okay, we need to hear Supercell because I think that's what my dream was trying to tell me last night. Basically, part of said dream involved me running away from a tornado that I got a little too close to out of curiosity. and so I'm like, okay, please, is this the universe trying to tell me they're going to play Supercell? Sure enough. And then right as they went into the opening riff, you're just like, dude, your dream came true.
Yeah. The second I heard it, I was like, your dream, the prophecy has been fulfilled. Like, you're magic. You're a witch. Yeah, dude. Oh, it was great. So good.
I want to point out the fact that Stu used his throat singing on Superbug a little bit toward the end, and I think sometimes he'll bust that out to give his throat a rest because that's one of those weird arts that when you really get the hang of it and do it properly, it's apparently very minimal to no strain on your vocal cords, contrary to what you might think of throat singing. But he'll do that if his voice is feeling sore, or, which I think was more the case here, he'll bust it out for some of the metal tracks as kind of a darker sound to just throw an extra little curveball into the mix. And he did it here on Superbug, and when he went Superbug, I just the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I'm like, holy fuck, this is incredible.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of had the same reaction. We looked at each other like, whoa. I love when he surprise busts that out in songs that don't already have that. Was just so cool. And one other thing, while we're still on the super track of the show, during Supercell, there was a supercell of human beings fucking flying around in the pit down there.
Yeah.
Forest Hills, we were up in seats, which are kind of stadium, what do you call them? Bleachers, like bleacher seats. There are some regular folding like chairs as well, but we were on bleachers. But there's a really big GA standing room on the actual like tennis court down below. So we had a great view of the crowd down there going absolutely ballistic, and there was just these amazing like circle pits of people just in a spiral running around with all these heavy songs. I mean, from the very beginning they were doing it. It was just so cool. Just the pit was going nuts, and yeah, very appropriate for Supercell. I love that.
It was like, yeah, from the vantage point that we were at, kind of higher up in the seating bowl, from that high up, looking at the floor standing room down below, it was almost like seeing like a big vortex of water in a body of water. Like the people from that perspective are just so small that it's almost like they all blend into one mass, and it's just like a whirlpool swirling around. So cool to see.
So moving on from that heavy as hell 4-track run at the top of the show, we got into some microtonal stuff. Only 2 microtonal songs, both coming from KG. We got Minimum Brain Size and Odd Life, which was really cool. Minimum Brain Size, we actually heard in Philly last year. And so that is, and I think I heard that at the Detroit Acoustic Show too. So I think I've heard that like 3 times in the last year, but I'm not mad about it. Love that song very much. Odd Life was cool too. I think I think they played that at the first show I ever went to in Philly in 2022, and I didn't really know the material as well. I wasn't in as deep at the time, so it was cool to like fully enjoy it this time and know the song well and be able to sing to it and everything. I will say the irony did not get lost on me of like playing that song. Anytime they play that song live, it's kind of funny because the whole song is about how like weird and sometimes strenuous and hard it could be being a touring band, and like all the chaos and the ins and outs of touring and the fast-paced nature of it and everything. So that was kind of in the back of my mind the whole time. But on top of what it's about, it's also just a banger, and they seem to just have a lot of fun playing it live. So that's fun. And one thing about Minimum Brain Size that was cool, I forget if this was for both songs or just that one. I think it might have been both, but Joey actually got to play the banana guitar. He played Stu's the Flying Microtonal Banana. He actually he put it on right before going into Minimum Brain Size and was like, look what I get to play, which was really funny. And I actually have a pretty good photo. I was I could zoom in pretty far with my phone, and I was able to zoom in and get like a nice couple photos of him holding it. So maybe I'll post a couple pictures at some point on our social media pages and stuff. But it was cool getting to see him wield that thing.
Yeah, that was cool, and I believe that was his first time. I'm not aware of any previous instance on a live stage where Joey or anybody else, aside from Stu for that matter, got to play the banana, but he absolutely killed it. He did great, and obviously Joey's in the modern day, just like he's one of those underrated shredders and overall guitarists. Just did a phenomenal job on both those microtonals. It was at this point the genre shifted a little bit again. They brought out Nathan. They started to wheel it out right onto the center of the stage when Odd Life was still finishing up. And I think I was actually one pointed out to you, Joe, saying, oh, there's Nathan. Their synth table was dubbed Nathan, probably within the last year and a half or so. Don't exactly know where that name came from, but this synth table has become such a central part of their live shows that it apparently warranted a name, so Nathan it was. But I've posted this before. I think it deserves to be called Nathaniel these days because it has grown. It has grown up.
Yes.
It has developed into such a sophisticated being. It's literally triple the size of what it was, I think, at the Philly show last year. But they have souped it up so much, and the electronic part of the show was first an electronic version of Sense, which was not the debut of such. They busted that out in Europe on the previous leg of this tour. We were following along with many of those live streams of the shows over in Europe prior to them coming stateside. We also got the Grim Reaper after that. And I'm seeing a little footnote here on setlist.fm, switched to guitar after technical difficulties, which I did not realize. So the guys evidently did a terrific job of kind of playing that off and kind of keeping it on the down low that they had technical difficulties. Damn.
I honestly didn't recognize that in the moment either. I was just so into it that it didn't even dawn on me that there was anything wrong. But yeah, I do remember them playing guitar with it and that just being really cool. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise that whatever technical difficulties they had ended up creating a cool new sound for that track.
Yeah, so those were the first 2 of 4 electronic tracks they played, or electronic iterations, I guess. 2 of them were not traditionally electronic songs in their original studio album form. But I want to halt real quick and say, I want to comment on Sense a little bit. I don't want to poo-poo it too much, but I think this is one of those controversial ones, Joe, and I think we had a short conversation after the show about this where it's like, okay, that's one of those like subtly beautiful kind of songs off Paper Mache Dream Balloon, and it's really cool that they've brought the synth table to a level where they can do this, where they can genre bend is what I've been calling it, with these different songs, like make previously rock or acoustic songs electronic or vice versa. I think I was a little more wowed by the sheer novelty of how the arrangement actually came across. But I honestly do think some of the gentle melodies and subtler qualities of Sense in its studio album form and its traditional acoustic form were perhaps lost in this heavier, darker electronic setting. Still, though, make no mistake, I'm really glad to have heard it and experienced it live. I think I'm looking forward to hearing some different ones, though, in electronic form. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm exactly right there with you. I think it's cool, and I love Sense, but exactly what you said, it kind of loses the subtle, pretty qualities about it when it's on the synths. I mean, there might be a way that they could do it to make it sound a little nicer, but I'm just not the biggest fan of the execution on that. I thought it was cool and kind of novel when I first heard them play it on the live stream in whichever European show that was. But I don't know, hearing it live, it was just okay. Like I was like, oh, that's cool, they're doing Sense. But as it went on, I'm just like it was kind of missing the main melody. I'm pretty sure like the main flute melody that's played, they didn't play that on the synth, and it just didn't translate the best. I think there's some other ones they could genre bend, as you said, into electronic that would work better.
Yeah. I think, though, any concerns as to where the electronic part of the set was going, I think that was assuaged pretty quickly when Grim Reaper came around, because I knew from listening to previous live shows on streaming where they pull out Grim Reaper and had the synth table on the last tour, they kind of had that bum 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 bum, that kind of backing a rhythm or synth texture behind it. And so when that started up, I knew, okay, Ambrose, time to shine. Let's go, baby. And sure enough, I'm the Grim Reaper chimney sweeper gatekeeper, and he did his thing. Fucking loved it. That was kind of one of the X Factor, kind of on the down low songs I was maybe hoping to see live in the near future. Glad I got to experience that one. Damn, dude.
Yeah, me as well. I was hoping to hear some of that elusive Giz rapping live. They only have a couple songs that feature that. I think Grim Reaper was great. I still have yet to hear Sadie Sorceress live, so that's going to be on my list for the future to hear now. But yeah, Grim Reaper was cool. It was really hype, really high energy, really rocking. Ambrose also, as usual, did his little bit of Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys throwing that in at the end. The another dimension, which I love that he does that and gives a little homage to Beastie Boys, because Grim Reaper and Sadie Sorceress both very much give Beastie Boys energy with those songs. So I think that was awesome and a lot of fun. So after Grim Reaper, as you mentioned, there was a 4-song set. May I say, I've used that word, a 4-song set of electronic songs. The next one after Grim Reaper was Set. Of course, there had to be some Silver Chord in there. We got Set and Extinction, which was cool. So Set we also heard last year on the tour, and I think it sounded better this time. I think maybe now that they've spent more time with it, they kind of dialed it in more. I remember it being a little messy last year when we heard it live. I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, but this time it was better, and Extinction was cool too. If I remember correctly, they drug that one out for a long time and kind of had this extended electronic jam before transitioning back to guitars and rock stuff.
Yeah, they actually closed last year's Philly set with that extended version of Set, but yeah, Joey did eventually peel away from the synth table and started to jam on his guitar a little bit, and he did kind of a funky little riff, and it was an oddball closer. I remember that year. Still interesting though, but yeah, I agree with you in that the development and the growth of Nathan and the way they're jamming on it and utilizing it in so many different ways is really cool. And I think that for a lot of people who don't care for the Silver Chord in its studio album version, I've seen on the subreddit, I've seen on socials, a lot of those people are coming around to those songs in a live setting. So really huge props to the band for just like not resting on their laurels. They're always tinkering and toying around with things, thinking, how can we make things better? And it really seems like they've done that with all those Silver Chord tracks. So like to get back into the set list here, Set and Extinction, the latter being really not one of my favorites off of that album, an album that I otherwise do enjoy. This live version, though, kicked ass, and I was glad to have seen this one as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was great. I think it was a lot of fun. It did drag on for a little while to the point where I was like kind of getting ready for something different, but it was still fun, and I think it was more enjoyable live than it is for me or both of us on the studio album. But after those 4 electronic songs, Nathan, or Nathaniel, as you said, was hauled away back off the stage. I think, am I misremembering, or did one of them say, like, bye-bye Nathan or something like that? Or did
I think it was Ambrose.
Okay, yeah, so there was a little bye-bye Nathan. They put him back away. I will say, in general, I liked that they did this electronic segment kind of right in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Like, it was a nice kind of break from the heavy rock stuff, and last year they closed with the synth table a lot, and I think it's not the most energetic, like, fun way to go out at the end of the show. I remember just being slightly disappointed in Philly at the Philly show last year of, like, you know, it felt like it kind of just fizzled off at the end. It wasn't like a big bang, but having it right in the middle here I think was a great choice. So after that we went right back into some rockin' shit, and we got a couple tracks from Podagon Infinity. I was so excited for this. We got Wawa right into Road Train. My God, that was kick ass. I mean, as soon as the first bits of Wawa came in, I was really, really hype. I remember actually a bunch of the people sitting next to me, there was a group of like 4 or 5 people, and they all got up and they said they were trying to get down to the floor underneath. I don't know how they did that or if they were successful, but I guess they were because they didn't come back. But I ended up having a ton of space in our little aisle there. So I remember just kind of like walking back and forth and dancing and grooving around. Like, I was just feeling that so much. I think I leaned over to you and I'm like, I hope they go right into Road Train.
Yeah.
And sure enough, at the end of Wawa, you hear Cav start going crazy on the drums. I was like, no fucking way. And everyone goes nuts. I was like, this is going to be sick. And I was just losing my mind. That was one of my favorite parts of this whole concert.
When I was coming back from the gym earlier today to come back to the house and record this episode, I put the show on because props to the people that make this all happen. Just 6 days, dude, after this show, they had this up on all the platforms. So I was able to, pull up Tidal and bring this set list from Forest Hills Night 2 up on my phone and listen to this in the car on my way back home from the gym. And I had this kind of middle part, including the Podagon tracks going. And when Road Train started, I was reliving that whole experience from that night. I was like kind of pumping my arms on my sides just like a train would, just like a chugging old freight train with those pistons and whatever pumping up and down and just riding the beat. And I remember just screaming along, Road Train, when we were at the show experiencing it in real time. I remember hoping for some Podagon songs in Philly last year. Didn't get any, but didn't have to wait long ultimately, so I'm glad they worked 2 into the mix here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I remember that too. Everyone screamed the words Road Train every time it's repeated in the song. That was just so cool. I love the crowd participation. Obviously, that album is a classic and a fan favorite. So many people in that stadium knew every single one of those words. And just so much fun. I love just that full energy of the crowd altogether. That was awesome. After that, we got a little break to something a little more softer and gentler. We got Let Me Mend the Past. What a beautiful, great song. This is the first time I've gotten to hear this one live, and that was so cool. I was hoping for a little bit of Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. In particular, I really wanted a Head On Pill. Mm-hmm. We did not get that, but at least we got one from that album. That's really cool. Let Me Mend the Past was beautiful. Ambrose sounded on top of it, just top notch, sounded great. I mean, he's sung that song live a 1,000 times now. It's been around for a long time. So yeah, that was great, man. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I loved it. Certainly an old favorite among the fan base. That's one of those songs where honestly I'm a little bit sad about having become a Giz fan so late in their discography or in their careers. Like, part of me wishes I would have experienced some of these older songs when they were fresh and new, but I mean, still kind of a cool experience to know, hey, so many of these people in attendance have been enjoying this song for I think 12 years that and Float Along, Fill Your Lungs, that whole album has been out now. So, Ambrose gets his moment to croon to the crowd, and I think the light show at that point on the stage, I think it was like that bright green and yellow and orange, evocative of the album art of Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. He nailed it. He was doing his little prance around the stage thing. I also want to note that I totally missed this moment until somebody posted it on Instagram. But I remember when the band first came on stage, Ambi was wearing like this light blue polo and black slacks, and I think I remarked to you at one point early on saying Ambi looks like the cool middle school band teacher. Like he still looks he looks professional and cleanly dressed, but he has the long hair, kind of like okay, but he's cool. He knows his shit. But sometime before Let Me Mend the Past, he went off stage and had a crew member rip off that polo for him, and underneath was like this black leather biker vest looking thing. So he was prancing around and he was looking so badass, like classic rock as he was doing this. And it just added to the whole vibe, dude. Love that guy.
Yeah, I just love watching him move around on stage. It's just like such a show in and of itself, the way he moves around. I mean, nobody else moves around the stage like he does. It just he's a whole show himself like that. Moving on from there, this whole show has been all over the place genre-wise, but this like last however many 8-9 songs are just such a crazy flip-flopping of genre, because we go from electronic to Podagon Infinity, then Let Me Mend the Past is a little softer. Then we go back to rocking the hell out with Altered Beast 4 in particular, which is the best Altered Beast. It's I think the longest one, and it's just got the most like variation and cool stuff going on. I fucking love it. I love Murder of the Universe, and I was hoping to hear something off that album, so I was pleased with that. Everybody was going nuts to that, and dude, that just another highlight for me. Loved it.
Yeah, it brought the energy back up. They definitely sequenced these shows well after kind of the slower but still kind of cheerful just like by general vibe, I guess. There is a tinge of sadness to Let Me Mend the Past, but I think it generally gets the crowd going in a happy way, just seeing Ambrose perform that. But they sequence these songs, is what I'm getting at, in such a great and smart way, because right after that kind of slightly slower paced moment, despite it feeling more cheerful, they go right into this just absolute banger, just so heavy off of Murder of the Universe. And like I figured I was probably due for a Murder of the Universe song after having been to my third show here, because this was number 3 for me. I hadn't heard any Murder of the Universe on the previous 2 shows. And Altered Beast 4, I was able to sing along with Stu for a couple of parts of that. Admittedly, I don't listen to that studio album enough. I'm going to have to change that here in pretty quick order.
Oh, yeah.
But I really love that they played it. And Yeah, it was a great addition to kind of as we're going to the final few tracks of this show. And another left turn right after that. We went right into Ambergris after that. And I was kind of... I'm to the point in being a fan where I'm a couple years deep, and in Giz years, that's a long time, as we've discussed on the show, to where, like, now that I go to shows, I'm always trying to predict what they're going into next as they go into the initial riffs and introductions of the following song. I'm like, okay, Cavs' drum beat here kind of sounds like Ambergris. Are we going to get that one? That's going to be beautiful if they do. And I was trying to tell you that, and you're like, maybe. And then they went into it fully, and you're just like, holy shit, you're right.
Yeah, you called it pretty early, too. Like, right from those initial bits of the drums, I didn't recognize it right away. And this is one that I also got to hear live last year at the Detroit Acoustic Show, which was really cool in that setting as well. So I like that I got to hear it 2 different ways now. But yeah, man, like, I didn't see it coming at all, and you called it way early, and I'm like, I don't know. It's too early to tell. But man, that's like half the fun of a Giz show, right? Is like just kind of getting a sense of seeing like who can guess what the song is first that's coming up next based on little tiny noodles on the guitar or little drum elements. So yeah, it's so cool. That was really nice. That was a nice little turnaround to a calmer song.
And I also remember you saying during the kind of extended low-key intro to Ambergris, you were saying like, wow, this feels like I'm in 1974 right now, or you said something like that, because the intro is just so like drawn out, like borderline psychedelic, but still kind of classic rocky with the keys and the organ tone on the other keyboard, whether it was Cookie or Ambrose accompanying it. And really, it did kind of feel like Frank Zappa-esque or the Dead or something. But yeah, such a cool vibe.
That was great. And keeping along with that 70s vibe, finally, between these 2 shows, we finally heard some stuff from B741, which we also got plenty of last year right after it came out. They were doing tons of those songs live, even more than they have been this year. But we got Sad Pilot right into Rats in the Sky. So 2 back-to-back songs from the latter half of that album, which was super cool. Last year, oh gosh, I heard so many different songs from that album last year. So I've gotten to hear most of that album live now, which is cool with the exception of only one or two. But that was really cool, and it was so satisfying to hear them do the transition clean right into Rats in the Sky. Sad Pilot was great, but just having them both together was awesome.
Yeah, and also having been a fan for a couple of years now, I'm to the point where as tracks are sequenced on albums, now that I hear so many of these songs live, like the inner part of my brain wants to start tapping along to the next song that comes in, especially if it's, in this case, like, you know, one that flows seamlessly into the following track like it does on the studio album. So as Sad Pilot came to an end, I started like kind of doing that quick bump, bump, bum, dum, like tapping on my leg, and sure enough, the band followed suit. You had Cavs going on the drums, then the keys from Ambrose going, and he busted right into it. I'd rather be amongst the clouds. I had a fun time singing along to that one as well. And I want to say, too, because you mentioned with last year's tour largely centering around the then recently released Flight B741, dude, holy shit. Today's the 1-year anniversary, August 9th.
Oh.
I just realized that.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it feels like we've been through worlds and worlds of that. But anyway, my point here being was that, yes, we heard a few Flight B741 songs at the Philly show, and with this being a different city, I was expecting, okay, if we get any B741, maybe there's a repeat for me and for you. But no, Sad Pilot and Rats in the Sky, we did not hear in Philly last year. And overall, looking at the 18-track set list, only 2 repeats for me personally between this Forest Hills show and Philly last year, those 2 being Minimum Brain Size and Set. So yeah, selfishly, I was very glad to have gotten so much of a great variety here.
Yeah, we can mark a whole lot of new ones off of our list here. I will say, even though Sad Pilot into Rats in the Sky was so good, it is a little weird to hear Rats in the Sky just end without going straight into a little bit of a just a tad bit of a blue ball there, not hearing it go right into Daily Blues. Oh, wow, there you go. Daily Blue Ball, more like in this case.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. So, just a little bit, but that's okay. You know, I wasn't expecting to get this whole, like, chunk of, like, a suite of B741. Yeah. It's fine, because what they did end the show with, one more song, was kick-ass and was also one that we hadn't heard live before. They played Hypertension. Yeah. That was great, wasn't it?
Thank you for pronouncing it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's where I have some regret as a listener. I do not listen to Laminated Denim enough, and so as a result, I do not have a long-standing relationship with Hypertension. I wasn't able to sing along with this one enough. I was not as familiar with it. I've listened to it a good smattering of times over the past couple of years since I've gotten into the band. But to see so many thousands of people around me, I mean, you for one, know the song a little better than I do. It was clear to me. To see so many thousands of people around me be just so happy and enthused at them pulling out an extended jam like this one to close the show, it did my heart good, man. I was in a happy place regardless.
Yeah, same. I'm kind of in a similar boat to you. I mean, I've listened to it, and I actually own Laminated Denim on vinyl. That was That's right. I bought that at my very first show back in October of 22. That was, that was Giztober. The Giztober was the first time I saw them live. They had just released, all those albums that year. I think most recent of which was Laminated Denim at that time. And they had this really cool vinyl on sale there that was like in an actual denim sleeve. So it is by far the coolest record I own, just for that reason alone. And I didn't even really know the album, like, at that point. I was just like, it's literally a record with a jean sleeve. Like, that's just cool as shit.
Yeah.
So I had to get that. But yeah, with that aside, I haven't listened to it a whole lot. And I mean, Hypertension I know well enough, like at least the main chorus part of the I've got that hypertension in another dimension, like that whole section. I was singing along to that, but otherwise, like the verses and stuff, I don't really know. But either way, I knew it was going to go crazy from the minute they started playing it, because I have seen clips of them playing it live before where they just really pick it up and jam the hell out. Just especially if they're closing with it, so it went hard, and the pit was going crazy. Everyone was loving that.
All right, so that was our experience at Forest Hills. We had such a good time, and it was a nice, relatively easy trip to another city, just about 2 hours pretty much right on the dot from our homes in the Philly area to Queens, New York. And minimal headaches getting through the city, believe it or not, driving in, though we did.
Well, hey, hold on. You weren't the one driving, so
okay.
Let me speak
fair.
on that.
That is fair.
No, just it wasn't too bad, but like literally any time you have to drive into New York, especially as someone who doesn't do it often, it's there's always something.
Yes.
There's always something. But hey, it could have been way worse. It was fine.
Yeah, okay.
And well worth the trip.
Absolutely, yeah. I was gonna say easier for me to say as the co-pilot, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a good time, suffice to say. Anyway, we wanted to hear some of your thoughts and reflections on the shows, and many of you chimed in on the Forest Hills show in particular. I do want to get one thing out of the way first. We got a comment on X from @GizGifs, who does some awesome work on X, just puts out all sorts of funny Giz-related GIFs from live shows or from videos they do, whatever. There's all kinds of good content on that account, so check them out when you can. This is bringing some attention to one of the slightly more unfortunate sides, but I want to get this one out of the way first because it is fairly important. GizGift says, sad I didn't get to meet y'all, but I hope I can the next time around. My main critique is mainly crowd etiquette, talking about Giz live shows in general, as we have too many stories about people being weird and not in a charming way towards other people just from these New York shows. Like, I don't know, maybe starting a pit during Grow Wings and Fly when everyone else is just trying to vibe and enjoy the music is a little odd, but that's just me. I don't want to dwell on this one for too long, but it is kind of important, if you're going to a show, whether it be Giz or any other artist, just, be aware of how you're acting, be mindful of people around you, be respectful, be kind, don't push or shove, don't elbow for extra room, just, keep in mind that these people are generally all here for the same reason that you are, to enjoy some kick-ass music from this incredible band. To speak on the last part of that message, starting a pit during Grow Wings and Fly, I'm not going to pass too hard judgment on that, but part of me is going like, huh? That I would not have that tabbed as a pit song, but okay. Whatever. That's an interesting choice, but hey, beautiful song if you're feeling it, as long as you're being careful and reasonable enough, whatever.
And just to add to that, I mean, did you guys not read the big disclaimer or the big sign that they put up on the screen before the band came out that they put up?
Yeah.
They don't do this at every show, but they definitely did it when we were there at Forest Hills. There's this message they put up on screen shortly before they come out that says, as the weirdo swarm grows, we have to work hard to keep our community inclusive. The mosh pit is a safe place for young, old, big, small, and people of all genders. If you see any dickheads, alert security. Look after each other in there and be yourself. And then the photo I'm looking at is a little cut off, but I think it says, we love you all, King Giz. So they put this message up there. So, if you're one of the dickheads, just, keep yourself in check next time. Have fun, but not at the expense of other people. Stay aware of your surroundings as much as you can. And, don't inconvenience anybody else and ruin their time just because, you're going absolutely apeshit or whatever. Have fun, but just, as they said, don't be a dickhead about it.
Yeah. We got one comment also on Blue Sky, a very short one from user Vines, who says, it was dope. I knew we were in for it when we started with Gaia, LOL. Same. Yeah, I think we had very similar reactions to when it kicked off with Gaia. We knew it would be a hell of a fun night.
We got 3 responses of some feedback from people on Instagram as well. The first one is Mike, who's actually listening from Puerto Rico, which is cool. Hi, Mike. He says, it was quite amazing and special. So many gems played. Plus, meeting one of 2 Podagon Infinity members was probably the highlight. Missed Joe by an inch. Spenser, do you remember running into this person? Was it like somehow we were separate at one moment? Like, was one of us in the bathroom or something like that? What happened here?
Yeah. I think you had stepped away for a minute. And yes, I remember talking with Mike for a good few minutes. Actually spoke a little Spanish with him, back and forth a little bit. Said, sorry, my Spanish is a little rough. I need to practice a little more. But he said, nah, you're good. So appreciate that, Mike, and really appreciate you listening in. It was really cool meeting you. Again, it's like we said earlier, sorry you didn't get to meet Joe, but hopefully we will be at the same meetups again sometime in the near future. It was great chatting with you, and thank you for listening all the way from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, was that at the meetup or at the show itself?
That was at the meetup.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. I mean, we were throwing down some. We drank some giant beers there at the beer garden, Cobblestone. So I was in and out of the bathroom. So that's probably what happened there. Moving on, we got two more. First from Amy A. says, setlist was fucking bananas. Got some songs I've never heard too. Hypertension was mind blowing. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. As we already stated, we got to hear plenty of new songs that we haven't heard live before that we get to add to our list of ones that have been covered. So glad you enjoyed that. And finally, Jake W says, I went to Connecticut and both Forest Hills shows. Each one was better than the last. Love this band and love your podcast. Well, we love you, Jake. Thank you for listening and and sharing your thoughts with us. Glad you got to go to a handful of shows there. That's awesome. Of course, we got to do 2, which is great. That's more than I'm sure a lot of people were able to. And it's still I'm still a little ungrateful. I need more. I always need more. But hey, if I get to see them at least once a year, I mean that's enough for me. So glad you got to have a great experience. Thank you so much to everybody for reaching out to us with those.
Yeah, between all the comments and all the people we got to join us on mic for those interviews that we played for you earlier in the show, we really do appreciate it. This is just such a cool community that centers around this band, and I was just so grateful to have finally been a part of it for the first time after, Joe, you lucky duck, you've been to 3 meetups, but to have finally gotten to my first before the Forest Hills show, that was awesome. Just having great conversations, face-to-face finally with Brittany, with Green Coast Creative, who you had met, I believe, in Detroit before, Joe.
Yes.
Ben Bacon, we saw in Forest Hills also, Echo, Jodie, who you mentioned earlier on this episode, Tiffany also, got a little Flight B741 bracelet at the meetup at Forest Hills there, and the all the creators in there in that little courtyard area at Cobblestone's Brewery. Was such a cool, awesome time. I wanted to stay for so much longer, but golly gee, we had a show to go to, so well. We will be back, I'm sure.
Yeah, and also shout out to George, also known as Igloo Buds Tie-Dye. He was there as well. We met last year in Detroit as well. I saw a lot of familiar faces that I met there. It's so cool to run into the same people all over the country like this. And he makes some sick as hell tie-dye shirts. And him and Ben are actually homies. They traveled all over the Europe shows together. I think Sam from Grim Reaper Goods, who I interviewed, was also has been traveling with those guys a lot. I don't know if he was in Europe, but I know he's been bouncing around to all these US shows with them. So they've got a whole little group going there, and man, I'm jealous. I wish I could follow them for more of the chaos, but boring life stuff. I got a job and I got other hobbies and stuff I got to make time for. It's boring,
all that annoying shit.
Yeah, but maybe someday if the band's still around in 40-something years when I retire or whatever, then I'll be able to finally do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, overall, just a great group of people we were able to converse with. The aforementioned Mike from Puerto Rico, and also Clay. I spoke with Clay from Arkansas during that same time that I chatted with Mike. So, yeah, he came up all the way from Arkansas to New York. So, just another reminder of how far and wide this whole Weirdo Swarm spans. Yeah. It really is incredible, dude.
Oh, also one more person that I spoke to and met as well, another artist and merch creator, Maria from Epoxy with Love is the name of her business. We met at the Philly meetup, and we connected again in New York as well and said hi, and we had some nice conversations. So it was cool meeting you as well. I hope I didn't miss anybody else. We just threw a ton of names out there. All really cool people, both merch creators and bootleggers and just regular fans alike who are just there and taking it all in and loving the music. We're all just there for the same reason and just made so many cool connections. I can't wait to see a whole lot of you again somewhere next year.
All right, well, that is just about it for today's show. We do want to remind you, if you're not already, please give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, or you can email us, podagoninfinity@gmail.com. You can drop us a comment or a DM on any of the other social platforms we've mentioned. We would love to hear from you. We read listener messages on every episode, so please do drop us a line. As for what's in store next, we do have our content planned for the next episode, but we're not going to reveal it just yet. We're still figuring out some scheduling things. So a quick programming note. On that note, we're going to be taking a very short summer break. We're going to take an extra week or two to just spend some other time in other sectors of our lives. We're going to be doing a little travel, at least for myself, spend some time down the shore, a little vacay, and we'll be back after couple weeks, though, so it won't be too much time away. We're going to get back into some albums. We're going to talk some more live shows. Details yet to be revealed, so look out for those on the socials at an upcoming date. But yeah, just short summer break, kind of catch up on life and enjoy some relaxation in the meantime here in the dog days of summer, Joe.
Yeah, this was a great time. Had so much fun talking about these shows. Glad we could finally get this off our chests. This was a fantastic time. Can't wait to do it again next year. As always, thank you so much for listening to Podagon Infinity, and thank you for keeping it weird and doing your part to spread the good word of the Giz. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Later, Gators.
Woo!
Seat directly to my right was empty, and I remember kind of having my right arm draped over the seat, and
Sorry.
wait, what was that? I missed it.
I said empty.
Oh God. Fuck, what was I saying? Okay, so the
Ignore that.
that's okay.